wild stories to tell you, and we want to basically lay it all out on this podcast.
If we weren't smart, people could have died.
Like, this is the toughest hunt I've ever experienced.
It's definitely the most incredible story that I've been part of for a very long time. This is the J Wilds podcast. I'm your host Joe Wilds, and here we dive deep into adventure hunting and fishing stories. Get a little adventure in your life. So welcome back, and let's get into it.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, that was actually quite loud.
It was loud.
This is as loud as your freaking cannon.
See, I'm gonna roll into the podcast from this exact point, literally.
We're rolling.
Yeah.
We're live.
We are live.
All right, we have got some stories.
There he goes.
We were trying to decide who was leading the podcast, and Joe's just made the executive decision.
I'm in the middle, man. All right?
You are in the middle.
No, okay. We've got some stories to
I
tell.
mean, you're
later.
our unofficial team leader for the whole
Wait,
week,
let's do
so,
intros because
yeah.
we're gonna post this on all three of our channels, and I think like people on each other's channels aren't gonna know exactly who people are.
For sure.
Everybody knows who Joe is because he's like the biggest.
Go,
deal.
start. Who are you?
I'm Wade, Flow State Productions. I own a media and marketing agency, specializing in content and marketing brand strategies for outdoor brands. And
Based in where?
based in Australia, servicing Australia, New Zealand, and the US, or servicing worldwide, basically. Yeah, I travel all over the world. Your turn.
Joe Edlington. You might know me as J.E. Wilds, full-time YouTuber, background is guided hunting, and somehow I'm in the mix with these two Muppets.
He's a real mountain man. That's
Do
what
your
he is.
usual YouTube intro. I want to hear it again.
Okay.
Joe is the real deal mountain man. What?
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode, Out There Doing It with J.E. Wilds, brought to you by your local hunting and fishing store.
Perfect.
I can see the Steve Irwin in there, dude. The influence.
Well, Steve Irwin was like, he was the
Me
legend.
too.
He
He
was
was
like
like
a massive influence in my life.
Me too. Me too.
Who are you?
My name is Hunter McWaters. I am the host of the Hunter's Quest TV show, YouTube channel, and podcast, all by the same name. So the TV channel or the TV show runs in America, obviously on the Sportsman Network or Sportsman Channel, sorry. And yeah, and then we met through. I found your YouTube channel and had you on a podcast, and we've been talking for a year and a half, just back and forth, kind of became mates, just talking about YouTube strategies and
Background stuff.
yeah, and just like talking shop and got to know each other, and then now we're buddies.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I made the mistake back in the early days. Oh man, you should come over to New Zealand one day. This guy's like, I'm coming. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm coming. I sort of thought, yeah, well, a lot of people say they're going to come over.
Yeah.
They never do.
Yeah.
You jumped at it, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I always since I started this kind of journey, so I basically started about 5 years ago, getting into YouTube, filming hunts, TV, the podcast, right around COVID.
Yeah.
I have a background in TV and film production. And back when I started, I was I didn't know, obviously I had no plan of coming to New Zealand, but I knew as soon as I learned about the possibilities in New Zealand, I was like, I'm going to do that one day. I don't know how or what, I have faith, I'm going to make it over there at some point. And, but finally came together. So that was 5 years ago. And you invited me, and I told you, like you said, I was like, dude, you better be careful. If you invite me, I will come for sure. And so you're like, yeah, man, reckon we will. Reckon we'll do that.
Let's book it in, mate. Let's book it in.
It was like, yeah, we'll do it. I reckon we will.
Is that because so many people, you took it pretty casually because most people bail?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
100%.
people say they're gonna but never do.
Yeah, we're down in New Zealand. We're tucked away from the rest of the world, and a lot of people are keen to come over, but a lot of people don't commit to it. So I'll open invite to a lot of people I trust, friends of mine, but
But you don't invite a lot of people, huh?
I don't. But still, people, there's a lot of things that have got to happen for someone to come all the way down in here. So
What made you think I was worthy of an invite?
I don't know, man. Me and you talking in the background, we seem to get on. We're on the same wavelength, and I was just like, man, I'd like to do a mission with this guy, do a hunt with this
Cool.
guy, and I'm sure we could come up with something cool. So kind of happened that way, and I guess
man.
So we're all three of us have podcast channels. So I don't know where you're watching or listening to this, but I will just say this one thing. This on my channel, this is part 2 of this whole trip. So you've probably listened to the prelude of this, but right now we're going to cover the entire trip that's just happened, and it's probably one of the most wild trips.
Dude, it was nuts.
Like,
It was nuts.
We've got some stories for you, man. So Hunter was coming over here. We were going to do this massive hunt, and we needed a buddy to film it. Mm-hmm. So there's not many people in the world that can handle the sort of hunt that we had planned.
It's one of the hardest jobs on earth, honestly.
Without even exaggerating. And you're going to...
Definitely one of the hardest in like the filming world, if not the hardest. And I think, because I've done Wade's job before.
We both have, man.
We both have, and it's some of the hardest work there is.
Yep. So from my side of it, I've known Wade for probably 7 or more years, I'd say. A long time.
Excuse me.
So, yeah, I mean, you're North Queensland based. Wade's into some pretty cool freaking stuff. So, Wade is like the guy that could handle what we're about to dish out on this trip. So, you jumped at the chance to come over though, man.
Yeah, man. I shuffled my calendar basically and made it work. Because, I knew when you reached out, it was going to be something. Oh, is there swear words allowed in this podcast or not?
Dude,
for YouTube channel?
I mean, it doesn't worry on my side.
Try to keep it somewhat.
I knew it was going to be fucking hectic. I can bleep shit. My podcast is not like that. But yeah, like I knew it was going to be, at the moment you reached out, I knew it was going to be hectic. Yeah. So I just started sort of making arrangements without even agreeing to anything, basically. Agreeing to any terms.
Yeah.
In the background. Because I knew it was going to be something like loose, remote, backcountry adventure.
And because if you happen to be listening on my channel and you're not super familiar with J.E. Wilds, first of all, you definitely need to check out his YouTube channel. But around here, Joe is like the man. Like we go into the stores, like people are coming up and like wanting pictures with them. Like he's
come on,
in Australia and New Zealand, and he's got a great audience in America too. But like he's the man around here. So.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was like a big opportunity probably when Joe called you.
Yeah, literally it was. It was huge. Like I knew, to be honest, like I'm surprised we hadn't done something sooner. It just never lined up, I guess.
It's just, like, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm surprised as well, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Because it gets through, like I don't have a lot of time to, and I don't watch a lot of YouTube or anything like that. So like we'll touch base and talk some shit for a while and like see each other's stuff and have a bit of a chat. And then we'll both like drop off each other's radars for ages and then pick back up again. So yeah, it was really cool to do that. But just on the whole, like Joe being famous thing's pretty funny too, because like it literally gets to the point where it's annoying. Like you're out in public with him, and like everything takes twice as long because he's getting pulled left and right for like all sorts of shit. I'm not 100% sure you're going to be in focus there. Maybe.
Okay. Change the subject just very slightly. We were trying to figure out where we were going to do this podcast, and we've literally spent the last 17 hours trying to like configure a little zone here.
And everything, literally.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, have you got any more things to say like before we get into? Because ultimately, all three of us want to tell our story that we've just done. Was it 9 days or 10 days?
Oh, it was 10, including like all the travel and everything.
All the travel and everything.
Okay,
so not including the travel to get here, but from New Zealand to New Zealand, 10 days.
I think we were out in the wilderness 8, I think, right? Fly in +1, and then 3 days in the storm, and then 2 on the back, so that's 7.
We flew out on day 10. Like I've got it categorized in the content as day 1 to day 10. Day 1 was fly in day 10 was fly out day.
Right.
Okay.
So I guess moral of the story, we've just done a pretty big hunt.
Literally.
I don't even remember how long.
Some shit went down.
Yeah, and it literally got crazy. We've got some wild stories to tell you, and we want to basically lay it all out on this podcast in detail, chronologically how it happened. And man, like just to give you a little sneak peek, it's definitely the most incredible story that I've been part of for a very long time. We were in it was, without giving too much away, like got to like life and death kind of scenarios.
And that's not stretching the truth.
No.
Yeah.
Like that's legit. It was like if we weren't smart and had our wits about us, like people could have died.
Yes. And cameras or no cameras, like no matter what, whether we talked about this earlier, this is a story that like I will tell my grandchildren.
Literally.
Like this will be like one of my, like this was the toughest hunt mentally and physically and weather-wise I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
This is like and I wasn't quite mentally prepared coming in for it, which we can get into later, but
Yeah. It's going to be like you're going to go on a bit of a roller coaster ride, but there's success at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
we're
like
going
ups and downs throughout, hey? Like, it was
we'll tell our story. So I think we'll kick off from the very start, I reckon. So if you're watching my channel, Hunter and I filmed the last podcast, a prelude, at the apartment. So that night at 2:30,
Yeah, 2:30 in the morning.
you rocked up. Ubered in.
Yeah.
I saw him at 6:30 a.m. on my second cup of coffee or third.
Literally, I rolled in to the airport. My flight was late in. Got through customs. New Zealand customs are very strict with like biosecurity stuff. So I spent like an hour in there mucking around, picking grass out of boots and all sorts of nonsense. And got through, got an Uber, got to the motel. The boys sent me the address. Rolled in at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Seen the pillows and stuff on the couch. So roll out, went straight to sleep pretty much. Then it felt like I literally just closed my eyes. Next minute I hear like the kettle tick.
Yeah.
Hunter's up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, stitching me up.
I woke up early and I was like, I won't go down now, because Wade was pretty keen to have a bit of a sleep in. Like, you said that on our WhatsApp group. Hey? You're like, I wouldn't mind like a sleep in, guys. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to go down there, give him a bit of sleep in. And then when I finally came down,
I didn't even see that message.
when I finally came down, like, this dude was already down here. Wade was like mucking around, and then I heard the story that he'd been up for a couple of hours while Wade's literally 3 meters from him making cups of coffee.
Like, I was super stealth, dude. I was so quiet. Like, I was like, but yeah, I like always wake up early and just have coffee. Plus, my body clock was completely screwed up from traveling, so my bad, dude. But
no, I can't.
So that was like the start of the trip.
Yeah.
Eh?
It's like literally 3 hours. 3 hours sleep I had starting, which isn't like new to me, pretty much.
Yeah.
yeah.
Where do we go from there? So we basically loaded my truck. Where did we go from there? Did we go? Oh, we went to. No, we didn't go to Hunt Fish because me and you went to there. But did we go straight to the? You could probably have a better recollection.
Yeah. Well, we swung past Hunt and Fish because we got some shop photos for those guys.
Yeah.
That was super cool. Jeremy and Simon.
Yeah, Jeremy and Simon hunting and fishing at Ballinger's in Christchurch.
Absolute legends. Amazing shop, like so much cool gear and stuff in there. And we ended up shooting there, bought some stuff. Actually, that's probably a good point to make. So I bought over a single person 3-season tent, a pretty high end one, like a tent for spike camping and stuff. Says 3-season, said it's capable for 4-season stuff. And I was like, waited to chat to Joe, where are we going, yada yada. He's like, we're going on the West Coast. So I was like, I'm going to buy another tent for that exact reason. So I went and bought a MSR 4-season tent.
Yep. Access to
while we're at hunting and fishing, and the guys there looked after us, super nice guys. And a couple of other bits and pieces that I needed that I knew I could get in New Zealand.
Yeah, you got a bunch of shop footage just for my collection, basically, like just general stock footage of the Hunt Fish stores.
Yeah, it's an epic. Like, I wish that there was more of those in Australia, to be honest. Like that sort of Cabela's style hunting and fishing stores.
And we had to get some more dehydrated food too.
Yeah,
we did. We had to get all the food and all that sort of jazz too. Yeah, and then we sort of chucked all that in the truck. Then we went, because you had to get gear. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Do the people know how you go back and forth? Because you're on the North Island, right? Do people know that story? Like, how do you get back and forth, and you've got like a base here and all that sort of stuff?
I'll quickly tell it. So this time of year, basically the end of March through till, it's normally July, August. This year it's a little bit compressed, but this time of year I migrate from home. I live in the far north of New Zealand, right up the top, up on the beaches, that sort of zone. And this time of year, I'm filming solely for my hunting YouTube channel. I've got 2 channels. I've got a hunting channel and an adventure fishing channel. So this time of the year, I'm down in the South Island, living in the mountains basically, filming for this hunting channel. So when I leave home, and this year it was literally mid-March, I think I packed up my truck, jumped in the truck, started driving, and I haven't been home since. And basically the aim of the whole thing is to film my entire series. I do 10 episodes for my channel a year, and I don't go home until I'm finished it. That's kind of how it works. So when I leave home, if I don't have everything, I can't go back home because I'm at the other end of the country, sort of thing. So
all 10 episodes in one trip.
No, all 10 episodes in like a 5 to 6 month period.
Right, but you leave home and you're gone for 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's like you could say that's like one trip.
Right, I get you.
Like one trip away from your family, you're gone 6 months straight.
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude.
That's badass.
No wonder you're like a military dude. You literally deploy like you're in the freaking Navy or something.
Catherine Edlington, you are a saint.
Dude, seriously. Wow.
Yeah, my wife's pretty understanding of it,
Wow.
obviously.
And then you're gone for the other 6 months fishing probably.
Yeah, well, the good thing is we live, like, fishing is really close to home. We're living in the zone, so
Okay, yeah.
it's day trips or it's 5-day trips or something. But
That's
yeah,
nuts,
it's
dude.
pretty, like, for me, it's pretty, to come down and do the mountain stuff, it's not financially viable for me to just trip down or fly down, fly home, fly
Right.
down, fly home. I've got to have a base, and the base is my vehicle, and basically I go and then I come home when I'm done.
So let's say 6 months you're out. Like what percentage of that time are you in the actual mountains?
Man, I couldn't answer that, but I will say that
Like
But
80, 90%?
nah, probably not. But so when I picked you up, I'd done 22 days hunting in 24 days being away.
Yeah.
So I'd been hunting for 22 days out of being gone from home for 24 days. So
And we're talking hunting. We're on heli dropped onto a mountain in the middle of nowhere and living for 22 days by yourself in a tent.
yeah, in the wilderness, in the backcountry, like the legit, no farms, nothing, is like dropped into the middle of the wilderness, which is kind of that's my theme on my channel.
Yeah. I guess the reason I asked that is because I wanted to contextualize for people, like, to understand like how it works for you coming down here and all that sort of stuff. So basically, like, we did all that, did all the run around we had to do, as you do with when your crew's meeting up from everywhere, threw all the gear in the car, zipped to Joe's got a bit of a spot at a mate's place where he's got all his gear that he keeps down here and everything like that. We sorted a bit of that gear out.
Yep.
The boys would have said on the other podcast that they picked up a gun for Hunter and everything like that. Then we
I got to mention that really
Yes.
quick. Just real quick, the guys at Browning, I couldn't get my paperwork done. So they were kind enough to arrange. We picked up at Gun City X-Bolt and 7mm Ren Mag. But that thing was nice, dude. And I brought a Leupold VX6 HD from home. We mounted it.
yeah.
And then we had to so that was just kind of an interesting little facet to the hunt. Like I didn't have my own rifle. We basically had to go pick up a brand new rifle I'd never shot.
Yeah.
Put on an optic from home while I'm like jet lagged and tired and doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Mount the optic on there. Go to the range the next day and it got zeroed and we were shooting out to 400 and like I didn't miss one. It was shooting like tack driver.
Yeah.
I had to mention that because that was pretty cool. And I had some cool tools on my Garmin. You know, I'll talk all this stuff later, but I had some cool tools with the Garmin, with the chronograph and all the watch, and was able to get it in pretty quick. And we were efficient with that.
Yeah, that was. I was pretty impressed, man. To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Straight out of the truck on the range. We both had our rifles there. I checked the zero on mine, and Hunter, the brand new rifle, you were ready for hunting, basically.
Yeah.
And
So
Wade was filming this. You're going to use bits of the footage that
I'm
Wade took?
definitely going to include that in there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the range stuff.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it like there'll probably like a little montage in the beginning of just like range
I
stuff.
forget though, like, cause like I'm like, oh, fuck, did I shoot enough content? And then I forget about like all those big chunks of time that we allocated to doing that sort of stuff. There's like a lot of footage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that
all
was
of
the main mission before we headed out.
literally had the rifles in.
Yeah. The rifles needed to be ready.
Yeah.
And we checked yours.
Yep. And we sort of shot at 100, 250, and then
400.
It was 400 meters, so it was 4 something yards, wasn't it? Wasn't it a bit over? Anyway, 400
I thought it
odd.
was around 400 yards. Something.
At the maddest dude's farm ever. That dude was a weapon, man.
Yeah, I owe that guy a box of beers too.
You
This-
do.
Oh,
It
yeah.
said it live
a
on
station. Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. So there's a station, a big farm, big ranch. He let us use his rifle range, so that's shout out to you, bro, if you're listening. I can't imagine you are, but yeah,
camera. He might be.
staunch as old farmer.
Yeah, he was cool.
He said, yeah, just box of beers, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did all that and then cruised to the hangar. So the helicopter hangar, Heli Rural.
Yeah, you guys got to meet Scott for the first time. so-
Absolute legendary people, like the most nicest, kindest people you will ever meet. And it's epic business, like super clinical, efficient business. Heaps of knowledge and know-how, which was sick. Which probably, like, you should explain what we're trying to all achieve here too, like what the hunt actually is, and then we can build it from there.
Yep. So We sort of had a goal. Well, we had a very high
Very
level goal.
lofty goal.
Yeah, very lofty goal. That was like reach for the sky kind of goal, and that was Hunter and I to both be successful with getting a mature red stag, a chamois buck, and a bull tar. That's like the dream goal. And to do that, we were going to be going into one location in the backcountry that was going to offer up stags and chamois. This sort of overlapping in territory and same sort of environment. And then in the last sort of 3 days of the trip, we were going to relocate into a similar area, but where there's a higher population of tar, and we were going to try and find a bull each. So that was the plan. That was the big plan. The tar and the chamois are rutting. The stags are tailing off their rut.
The weather had a different plan, didn't it?
The weather had a crazy plan. So that was kind of the goal. Like we set the benchmark. We were like, man, if we can get there, that's going to be the trip of trips. That's it. And you got to set a big goal, man. You got to set a big goal on a big trip like this. So that was the plan. And obviously Wade was going to be documenting the entire thing for both of our shows, pretty much. So the three musketeers together, we're going to create something pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
And we did. Long story short, we did. But it didn't quite work out how we'd set. But it was, I reckon in some ways it's probably
It's
even
better. I reckon
it's like another level on what we even thought. So
yeah, the story is like, if we had gone in there and just killed like a ton of animals, it would have been sweet. Yeah, but like this story is just so much more epic and just like it just worked out so perfectly.
Definitely.
And I just want to say too, like real quick, my kind of motivation was obviously adventure, challenging myself, going to a new awesome location, new species. But really, like when I come to a situation like this, like my goal is also just to really like observe like the guy I'm with, you, learn from you, and because I'm relatively new to mountain hunting. I've done it for about 5-6 years now, 5 seasons I think, maybe coming up on 6. But so yeah, to be able to learn from some great like guys like you and Pedro and others, Dan Staten, other guys that I've learned from, like it's cool to just try to be a sponge and like absorb, and but I think I did pretty good, and I think we made a good team.
Yeah, 100%.
It was sick, man. There was no issues, like, and we can talk about this in more detail later, but like there was no button heads, there was no issues with anyone, no one got the shits, no one was sad, no one was nothing. Yeah. It was such a cool, like, it rarely happens that way.
That is actually a bloody good point, man. There's no issues. There was no, I want to go that way, but I want to go that way. It was literally like, it was flawless.
But even
how we operated. Yeah.
Literally. And even when there was like something that we disagreed on, it was like constructive. Like it was always like a positive conflicting discussion, and it came to an outcome that we all agreed on. It was sick. It was cool.
Yeah, so I think meeting you guys, like introducing you guys to Scott. So Scott and Caroline, they own a helicopter business, Heli Rural. You've probably heard me talk about them a lot. I fly nearly exclusively with them. Really close friends of mine. I really want to support them. And I do a lot of flying with Scott. He's an incredible pilot, helicopter pilot.
He's a very good pilot.
I've flown with Scott for a long, long time now, way back before he even owned his own business, Heli Rural. So, yeah, introducing you guys to Scott, I know that's going to be like massive for your futures as well. Like you've already planned like to come back and do some stuff with Scott. And obviously you'll be back, but
I'll be back if the invite's open. But I mean, also for even if you were busy or other guys listening, like, with the caveat, I will say the place we went to was so, it was kind of like level 10, like difficulty, expert level difficulty, but Scott can fly all over the place. So, if you're American and you want to do, or from anywhere, want to do a DIY hunt, internationally, this is, I think, that I know of, the only opportunity in the world, like other than America, where you have public land and you can just go hunt animals, like relatively easy without a guide.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for me, that's super cool because, I like learning from guys like you, but I also don't love like the guide situation because you just don't, and from my perspective, learn as much when you're not kind of having to figure it out a little bit, at least a little bit on your own.
You kind of feel like you're being spoon-fed.
Yeah.
Like, I love what guides do and stuff like that, but it's sort of, it feels like you're doing what someone else has done.
Yeah.
Here's how I feel about it.
For sure.
But
And
yeah,
that's something that I wanted to hit on with the conversation, which is kind of interesting. I even said from the get-go, obviously, like, you are the expert of this environment. I know next to nothing, if maybe nothing about this environment. So there's going to be, obviously, naturally, that dynamic where you're going to take the lead because you are the most experienced person in that arena. But at the same time, it's like I said, I wanted to make it so we were hunting together. Like we had talked about this on the trip too. Like, you're not just my guy. Like, there's my American buddy. I want to try to kill stuff with him. You know, like, I didn't want that to be the dynamic. I wanted to be like, hunting together.
Yeah,
and I think that we pulled that off too.
We pulled it off amazingly.
Yeah, because you got a real nice chamois buck.
Wait, you can't get into
Okay,
this.
sorry.
You're getting ahead of yourself there, mate.
All right. Anyways, but I think we pulled that dynamic off well, though.
We fully did, man.
Yeah. Did you? Because you didn't feel like you were guiding me, did you?
Well, I did not want to guide you.
Yeah.
I really hoped, like, leading up to this, that I hoped you weren't going to come over and expect me to just guide you onto everything, because we're buddies. You're not a client.
Right.
I didn't want to be the guide. I've done enough years of guiding.
Right.
I didn't want to do that, So, I think it worked. How it worked out was perfect, man. Perfect.
Cool.
So,
yeah. So circling back, I guess, like, we got to the helipad with all our shit, and then I guess the first big hurdle that we had to do was weight and amount of gear that we had, because Joe does this regularly, pretty much only heli hunts. Well, not heli hunts, sorry.
Definitely don't heli hunt.
My terminology is wrong. Gets transported in a helicopter to do his hunts.
Yeah.
So
Solo.
Solo. So Joe's able to take, like, heaps of spare gear and everything that he possibly needs, because he can fit all his gear plus more to go and do what he does solo. And he solo films, which is incredible for the places that he goes, which is a whole nother thing. Go check that shit out. But the biggest issue that we had is, like, I have all of my rucking and camping equipment and all of that sort of stuff self-sustained, plus all of my camera equipment and batteries and all that sort of stuff, plus all of my food. Then you got all of Hunter's stuff, and then all of Joe's stuff, and then plus Joe's carrying spares and bits and pieces that we couldn't carry on planes for all of us.
Yep, just redundant gear.
To fit in a 500 helicopter?
Yeah, it's a huge 500.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a weight limit on that, obviously.
It's a smaller helicopter, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not the smallest, but it's
But
kind of
like-
Yeah.
it's the most common sort of helicopter for carting hunters into the backcountry.
I
of New
think
Zealand, for
sometimes when Americans think helicopter, they think of something pretty big.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like three people up
It's-
the front like this,
Yeah.
and then one person
I
in the
was
back.
very surprised with how much weight it could carry, and it's three, grown dudes and a pilot. So it's not like tiny, but
Yeah.
it's not a big helicopter, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I had like 50 or 60 kilos of gear. I think we all weighed in at like 130 kilos gear and people
sure. Oh, I can't.
each. You would be more.
I honestly can't remember. But
Anyway,
we were
lots.
It turns out we were literally just
made it.
Just under.
By,
And
a little bit.
I think, like, it would have been really bad if we were way over, because there's limits on what you can take in a machine,
Yeah.
and basically as it was, we were skimping down on gear, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, that was the first logistics. We went out for dinner that night, spent some time with Scott and Caroline, got back to the hangar. We had the hangar open, and we had all of our gear laid out, and we were like fine tuning it, weighing it, and then the next morning, we loaded up the machine and got in there, and we sent it off. So you've both been in helicopters before, I take it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think, man? Like, was it kind of what you expected, or what? For being a first-time New Zealand helicopter experience?
I mean, obviously, the countryside here is like, everything looks like a photography coffee table book, dude. Like, everything. Like, you just look around and you're like, wow, there's some guy who could make like $1,000 off that picture right there. So everything's beautiful. I mean, the helicopter ride, it was, comfortable. Like, it wasn't, I think anybody could probably do it and have a good time. And
Yeah, even the scenic
beautiful.
flight side of it's epic. Like, I love it because I'm that kind of creative mindset, and like flying over all the mountains and all of the fields and stuff. And so these guys are situated, Heli Rural is situated on the east coast, on the eastern side of the range, and then we flew to the west coast. So we had to cross through mountain passes and in between valleys and all sorts of things, and saw some like incredible country, and it changes so much here from east to west.
Yeah.
and just the places it can get you.
Man, it's incredible. And it's like, it was quite a long flight too, to
The
where we went.
base, the base is in Methven. If you're looking at a map, Heli Rural's based in Methven, and from Methven, like there's so much scope.
Yeah.
It's not just locked away in some corner somewhere. Like from Methven, it's super central. So like Wade said, we flew up the river valleys, like up the big mountain valleys, over the Southern Alps, over the main divide, and dropped into the west coast, which is my sort of preferred hunting kind of country.
We were hunting public land, by the way, so this wasn't a spoon-fed private block somewhere. This was like, anyone can go here.
Yep.
It was like,
I think this is worth mentioning too. I remember saying to you guys on the first evening, I think, because in America, when we do like a trip like this, like a backcountry trip, you're usually either hiking in or like horses or, you know what I mean? Like, so it was a weird feeling of like being like almost teleported like into this completely new world that's like so vastly different from like where we were, like really quick and with no physical exertion.
Yeah.
It was like kind of shocking. Like, whoa, like I'm like immediately in this like crazy tundra, steep, rocky, like gnarly country. And I like it just like was a weird quick transition.
the helicopter, like you're in civilization, you're having a hot cup of coffee and all that sort of stuff, talking to people, and there's people everywhere. And then there's like, you're in the helicopter and it's like, brrr, you land and you dump all the stuff, and there's wind and everything there, and then the helicopter leaves and the noise disappears, and you're like, holy shit. I'm like,
Another planet.
Yeah, it's a crazy feeling.
That's where it kind of sinks in, when the helicopter noise vanishes, you're like,
I'm alone.
it's happening, boys. We're doing it.
We're out there doing it.
Yeah.
With J-E-Y.
So I'd picked out a spot a little while ago that I wanted to go, and this sort of particular location was like quite a long leading ridge at roughly 1,400 meters elevation, so feet. What do we work that out to be feet wise?
1,400. I think we were like
5,000?
almost 5,000. Yeah.
Say 5,000 feet, but
4,800 to 5,000.
in New Zealand, it's not like you know, the bottom of the valley is basically zero. So, you know, there's super steep mountains. So this long leading ridge, there was a couple of little zones on
4,500 feet.
4,500? There you go.
Pretty
So,
close.
Roughly.
a couple of little zones that I'd picked out as camp locations, and as we were flying in, I just wanted to check each one of them and see which one we wanted to hunt in, basically. And what we're trying to achieve is a base camp location that's going to give us easy and good scope to hunt the ridge all around us without busting our ass to try and even just to get to the hunt. Like the way I do it, I like to be able to wake up out of my tent, roll out of my tent in the morning, walk like 50 yards or something, and then I'm hunting. You know, that's kind of my jam. I like to be in the zone.
Did you intentionally pick that bowl because it would be secluded and like kind of our presence would be more low key? Or is it a weather factor or both? Or
the bowl was actually Plan C.
Okay.
And Plan A was next to this big tarn, which is a mountain lake basically. And so that was Plan A. So we flew in, and once we saw
mud hole.
Yeah.
Stag piss.
Well,
Full of stag
whatever you want to call
piss
it.
Well, this Plan A tarn was actually like
That one was pretty legit.
You asked me, is there fish in that thing? Remember?
That thing was legit.
It was a little bit.
Our tarn that we drank out of was not.
No.
was
Actually,
a
I
puddle.
want to touch on that really quick. Like, I'll just digress slightly. Which is what the point I was making that I didn't make is with the restrictions on the gear that we had with weight and everything, we couldn't carry water.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
So
drinking
we literally had to carry like
mud water.
very minimal amount of water, and then we had to get our water while we were there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when I'm picking camp locations, there has to be some sort of water source nearby. Ideally as close as possible, but nearby at least. So camp spot number A, you know, option A had a huge lake, huge tarn there. And as we flew in there, I kind of realized that it's quite low elevation, and for us to get into the good hunting zone, it was going to be a bit of a slog each time we left camp. So Plan B, we checked out Plan B.
Thank you.
What's that?
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Plan
C
B
wasn't much easier. Plan C was not much physically easier.
Yeah.
Plan B unfortunately didn't have water. Once we got in there was like little bits of water, but it was a similar sort of feel, and I didn't like it. Plan C was going to be the option. So Plan C was the highest elevation. It was basically just below the apex of the ridge, and there was a little bowl, like a little basin, quite small, but it was tucked off that main leading ridge, and that was going to give us some protection of any wind, any storms that were going to come. That's the theory, and we'll get into this later. But obviously we couldn't land on top of the ridge and camp there because you're asking for trouble. So this nice basin, nice bowl.
It was perfectly shaped little bowl, dude.
Yeah, it was. It was like
a small little stadium.
Think about a leading ridge that's probably in total length, I would say, would it be 5 miles long, the whole ridge, if you think about it? It was about 2.5 one way and 2.5 the other.
It's about 5.
And we were basically in the middle. So this long leading ridge, and then just off the apex is this little basin, this hanging basin. So Scott dropped us on the top of the ridge, and we unloaded the machine. Scott flew off back to base, and we carted our gear down into this little basin, this little bowl, probably 100 yards elevation drop. We just dropped down into it, and there was an old stag wallow right there. There was a tarn, and then there was a few other smaller tarns dotted around. So it was kind of like, it was a really good spot. And from here, literally, we walked back that 100 yards to where Scott dropped us, and we're on the apex of the ridge. We can see lots and lots of good country, which we'll get into a bit later. But so we're setting up camp. We're on this little mound, basically. There's a few depressions around, which we didn't want to camp in because that's where water collects and that. So we had a really nice little mound. We were sort of sheltered in all directions around it. And we set up, you set up your Seek Outside TP. Mm-hmm. I set up my MSR Access 2, and you had just bought the Access 2 from Hunting and Fishing, so you set that up as well. And we had like this super sick little camp. It was actually really nice.
A little fly set up down in that little low spot where we could sit down and cook dinner and stuff over night time.
Yeah. And it's like the vegetation around us is tussock, which is like a native grass in New Zealand. It's like a, I don't know, knee-high sort of grass, and it's quite sporadic, so there's lots of gaps in between it, and it's kind of nice, you know, and there's like little bits of rocky, scree.
Good flat spots.
Yeah. It was a chill little basin.
Yeah, it was a good,
it was actually very flat, like as in regards to level.
Yeah.
Like I slept pretty level. I didn't feel like I was sliding, which is like a rare thing.
Yeah.
So we looked at our water source once camp was set up, and the main tarn that we were going to potentially be collecting water out of, I didn't like the look of it. It had a lot of aquatic vegetation in there.
Insects
were fine, but it was just, I didn't like the color of the vegetation. Like it just didn't, I just didn't like it.
Well, there was live insects swimming in it and dead insects floating on the top of it. It was,
And then the one right next to camp was brown as that coffee table because stags have been rolling around and pissing in it.
Yeah.
There's literally a stag wallow, and you can see all the stag prints, and we're just tailing off the other side of the stag rut, the raw. So, you know, a few weeks earlier, there would have been stags like fully rolling in it and doing crazy stuff. So, but back at the top of the ridge,
crazy stuff.
Back at the top of the ridge where Scott dropped us, there was another 2 or 3 of these tarns with clearer water. So anyway, long story short, we had options for water, and it turned out the water was fine. Like we had a really good water system, but option number C was the place to be. So
yeah, it was.
After setting up camp, we actually went for an evening hunt.
An evening little jaunt.
Which basically entailed us just walking to the top of the hill. We sat down, and I think it was pretty quick.
Is that all we did? We didn't go anywhere else?
No, we just went. We went basically where Scott dropped us. We sat down.
In the bathroom.
Yeah. And
no way. On the first night? Because I remember I was like, we got back to camp like after dark, dude.
Okay, I'm
getting
mixed up here. So we went for that hunt to the top where Scott dropped us off, and we were collecting gear and stuff, and I spotted a deer down below us. That's what I'm getting mixed up with. So it was a spiker bedded down in the basins below us, and we watched it. It was cool. It was an awesome sort of zone and stuff. And then
and I was mad because this true story.
Yeah.
I spotted that deer, and I looked at it, and it looked. I was like, "Is that a deer?" I was like, "No," because it looked like orange.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was not expecting it to be that color, and so I was like, "Nah, that's not a deer." And then you came over, and you're like, "Oh, there's a deer." And I was like, "What? No, where?"
You asked me the color. You're like, "What color am I looking for?" And I was like, "Oh, it's kind of like a reddy, orangey color."
Yeah. And I was like disappointed that I didn't. I like sort of made the first spot of the trip, but I didn't because I didn't like call it out.
Yeah. So there's one deer below us, and this is like early afternoon.
And I'm like, just to give you a context of my mindset, like I'm trying to prove to Joe that I'm not just like a worthless, like American hunter or something that like can't glass anything. I'm trying to prove to Joe like I can find deer. Like I don't. You're not trying. I'm not trying to have you guide me here. We can do this together.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty funny though, man.
Yeah.
It
But
was
anyway,
pretty funny.
you got the first spot though. But we were on a mission that night.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so that was like a little prelude mission, I suppose.
Yeah.
We went back to camp. I think
But
we like.
that was good because we kind of worked out the kinks, you know? Like it was our first hike together as a unit. And like there was a few things that like Wade probably maybe changed up in the way he was carrying his gear. We kind of figured out communication, like just kind of worked out some kinks in our system.
Yeah.
It was good. But we also learned that you do not start even thinking about hiking back to camp until it's like pitch black dark.
Yeah. So
Until your binos don't work, you stay where you are.
yeah. So Hunter's talking about the hunt that we actually went on after spotting this deer. We went back to camp. We had lunch or something, and then we all geared up, bags on, rifles, cameras, everything like that, and we cut down below camp, like down through the valley, and we went through all this zone, and which opened up this huge big mountain valley, which was on our northern side.
We went all the way to Stag Valley that
No,
night?
not Stag Valley, but
Oh.
the other one, which we won't name it, but the other one where we saw the hunters way down the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we done this big loop right round, and we sort of set up in there, and we weren't really seeing much, but it was probably later on towards evening. I spotted a chamois way off, like 4 miles away, 4 kilometers.
So
or
we
something
didn't see
away.
any more deer that
And we
night?
saw a stag as well with the chamois, but
Yeah.
that was it. And we'd actually seen, like, right down the valley was a backcountry cabin. In New Zealand, there's, we call them a hut. So there's like backcountry cabins, little houses, little huts scattered around our public land in the wilderness. And way down there was looked like a father and son, we thought, maybe,
Yeah.
hunting. And they were, they'd come into this hut and they were hunting this valley way down there. So that it sort of made up our mind, that we weren't going to focus on that valley
Yeah.
because there was someone way down there and potentially they might have been hunting it. We don't know. So, that was the first night.
first
and it's pretty cool to see the zone.
But we didn't see a whole
We didn't
lot.
see a whole lot.
Yeah.
So back to camp, I suppose. Cooked dinner,
Yeah.
chilled out.
Yeah, pretty much.
We should do it like an explanation of the terrain
Okay.
because that shit's difficult, man. Like
How do you want to explain it?
it's Hell's Gate basically.
Tiger country.
Tiger country,
Yeah.
yeah.
I call it tiger country, and you guys explain it, but it's gnarly stuff, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's
You go first, Wade.
A lot of-
I'll follow up.
It feels like it's more up than down. Even though it should be even, it just feels like you're always walking uphill, and it's like more than 45-degree incline a lot of the time, I
Yeah.
think. And you're talking like, I didn't pack crampons for this trip because I didn't think I'd need them. Definitely needed crampons. You think about like where the tree line breaks, and then you've got this like nice little sort of flattish like benches and tussock grass flats and stuff, and then above that is like Hell's Gate. So you got like big boulder fields of like landslides, like rocks big as this table, big as this couch. Then it breaks into like a little scree slip where it's like tiny rocks and shale where you're like walking and like you're sliding as you walk shin deep in like shaly rocks, while you're trying to like elevate, clambering over like full boulders, like fully climbing, like over boulders and stuff like that. And you're doing that, it's only like 2.5 miles to the end of the ridge one way, but it takes you 3 hours, 4 hours to get there hiking back. And that's like punching home, like not stopping the glass or anything, 3 or 4 hours to walk back.
Yeah.
That 2.5 miles, like brutal physical, physical task.
It's one of the toughest places I've ever hiked or hunted. The only place that might compare difficulty-wise is like deep tussocks tundra in Alaska, but the vegetation in between rocks is kind of tundra-esque, like kind of squishy, a lot of moss and stuff. But I was saying to you, like you have to like learn what you can step on and what you can't here because it's like different. The thing that was the worst part for me, believe it or not, a lot of times was the tussocks because it's like this big grass here. Obviously, in my mind, I'm used to seeing grass that's safe to step on it. Here, if you step on that tussocks, you slide all the way down to the end of it. It's completely slippery.
yeah.
So like a lot of times you would pick like loose rock over tussock, like over grass because it's like so slippery. But yeah, almost everything is extremely steep. Then you got like Wade was saying the rocks where the worst part are like the pineapple to like basketball size-ish rocks that are like just big enough you think you can step on it safely, and then you do and it moves.
Yeah. And those motherfuckers like you move and they roll down and can they can dislodge one, like you step here and they dislodge one 4 or 5 meters above you, which is like almost vertical, and it dislodges a bit of stuff up there. Then that can come down and just like clean you out.
Yeah.
Like
It's
broken
very
legs.
tough. Very tough walk.
He's laughing like it's like
No, I'm not laughing at like that. I'm laughing at, as we were going, like I was sort of like naming hazards and things like that as we went.
don't step on that, you'll die.
Yeah, so Hunter, he was repeating this throughout the trip, same with Wade, but I would end up always saying like, all right guys, see this up here? Don't step on that because you'll die.
No, the way it started was like we were just kind of getting our feet under us, our New Zealand feet under us, like just kind of figuring it out. And he's always, we're always going back to camp, like you said, like a couple hours sometimes walk back.
After dark,
in
mind you.
pitch black dark, in some of the most technical, difficult terrain I've ever moved through in my life. And so we'd be going along and like, so that, I'm going to be totally transparent. That's producing stress in me and like a slight bit of like, I wouldn't make borderline fear, not like full on I'm scared, but like a little bit of trepidation and like stress. And so then like we'd be going along, I'm kind of stressed, it's dark, picking my steps very carefully. And Joe's like, all right, mates, right here, see this right here? Don't step on this. You might get, you'll die.
It got to the point where we were saying like, see this is the South Island.
Yeah.
Come step on this, you'll die.
Yeah.
Like it just was everything.
But like he was just super calm, like say this really, really scary warning of like,
See that grass? Don't step on it, you'll die.
Literally that
it's
was
almost like I felt like you were about to say something like comforting, like, and then you'd be like, "This is really bad right here. Like, don't come near this." You know what I mean? Like, I just started making a joke out of it. I was like, I love how he just says the scariest thing ever in like the most calm voice.
Yeah. To add like context to that, there is some like it's like pretty crazy because there's this like brown bush that grows through the rocks, like the bigger rocks, let's just say the basketball sized rocks. And it'll grow on top. So like you'll stand there and you're like, oh, I can step on that. It's like bush. But no, underneath it is all these boulders. And you can step on the bush and go straight through it and jam your leg in a rock. Like you can't even see what's underneath it.
Dude, you know what I call that stuff?
What?
The holy crap. If you step on it and holy crap!
Yeah, literally.
And it's holy crap, get it?
It is.
All right, anyway, go ahead.
And then, no, that's all good. And then the tussocks is like you think you can step on them. Most of the time, if you step straight on top, they're okay. But if normally they're like all laying over from the wind and whatever else, you step on the side of them, that shit's like ice, man. Straight down
Straight
you go.
down.
Yeah,
You have to like really be careful. Like
The tussocks are one of the most dangerous things, man,
Right.
to be honest. Like, especially once it gets a bit of dew or moisture on it. Like you slide, you step on it, and because all the leaves are down, they almost act like little racetracks, and your feet just whoosh. And once you go over, and if there's heaps of tussock and it's a steep hill, you can't stop.
No.
So
if you gain momentum anywhere we walked, if you gain 1 or 2 meters of momentum and you're at the bottom of that valley in the birch forest dead.
That's I didn't even think to mention that. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like you trip and it's like, oh, ouch, my knee. It's like you trip, you could literally keep going for a long time.
you could die.
And you could die.
Literally.
Yeah.
And Wade knows about this couple.
Yeah.
He had a couple of little instances.
I had a couple of little trips and falls.
But like
So-
literally where a trip or one rock twisting the wrong way could be a compound fracture or extremely like fatal almost fall.
Literally. And like
Everywhere.
Imagine if we're at one end of that at 2.5 miles and one of us broke our legs. It would take the other two all night to hike that person out.
Yeah.
At least.
We'd just helicopter out.
You'd have to, wouldn't
You'd EPIRB out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you could get to somewhere to pick up. Yeah.
Oh, they'd winch you out. Yeah. There's no way we'd be carrying a broken leg guy out.
Yeah,
for
you could. I was thinking about that. I don't think you could do it, dude.
No, it's best just to leave the person there, comfort them, hit the EPIRB, helicopter comes in, rescue helicopter. That's how we'd do it for sure.
It was treacherous.
But if it happened right before that storm,
Yeah.
you'd be sitting through that whole storm with a bone sticking out of your leg.
Literally. There's and we're not putting any GST on this. Like this is legit
Yeah.
hectic.
So we're painting a picture of the scene, guys. It's kind of like a long-winded way of saying
I'm trying
like,
to
we're in some
contextualize
gnarly
it
stuff
best
right
I
now. And if you're a New Zealand hunter,
And I was not prepared for it.
yeah.
No.
Mentally.
If you're a New Zealand hunter, we're on the west coast. We're over the divide. We're not far from the divide, but we're in the western side, and we're in tiger country, like proper stuff, proper wilderness stuff. So, I mean, like the first day was the intro. the second morning, we got up early and we basically hiked up to our little vantage point, which is literally the top of the ridge, just above camp. And we were sitting there not that long, and I spotted the same spiker that we'd seen the day before in basically the same spot, just cruising along, feeding. And it was coming light and stuff. It was morning. The sun was like peeking through the mountains, whatever. It was actually really, really nice. I went back to the gear, which was literally 10 yards or so behind us. I pulled out my cooker, and I think you were filming me like spark up the cooker. I was going to get coffees on, and we were going to do stuff like that. And you were still glassing, man.
Well, these guys were Hollywooding it out over there. I was up there. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was back there too, and I was like, while they're doing that, I'm just going to go peek up here and take a look. And I raised the binos, to like the most obvious spot I would think to look first. And I was like, oh, there's a huge stag.
Yeah.
And I was like, huge stag, dude. I can't remember what I said exactly, but I think I said like big stag or something. And you're like, what? And you like raced over there. And then how would you think of him?
Oh, yeah. So both me and Wade like catch up to Hunter, and I asked him, where was it? Where is it?
Did you think I was full of crap at first?
No,
It was
no.
going to be some tiny thing?
No, man. Like you just don't know what to expect. I knew that his eyes were like, poof. And he was like signaling like, so we ran over there and then I got him to point it out and picked it up. And yeah, there's this stag walking away from us at it's about 900 away. It was a fair way off, but you get on him. You get on him, man. And it's like, I said to these guys, I was like, dude, that is a freaking monster.
Yeah.
Like old animal, huge neck on him, huge body, big antlers. Like I've hunted a lot of days this year, and that would be one of the biggest stags I've seen this year by a long shot. So that's a proper one. And to see that first up, and for you to spot that for your first friggin' red stag, man, like that, it was a monster of a stag.
Yeah.
So
that was cool, man.
he was just feeding his way along. Like
Got some good footage of him.
Yeah, you got some footage of him like ripping out a mountain daisy, just pulls it out,
the whole thing,
chews it up. But he was just cruising along, and he was like stopping every now and again. He was just, you could see him like looking around like this.
Yeah.
And
he was beautiful.
At the time, I didn't sort of click, but thinking back now, I would have definitely done things differently, but I'll get into what that is a bit later on. But anyway, we sort of watched him crest this little ridge top, and he dropped down into the next valley. And I said to these guys, there's a high chance that he's going to be in that valley. He'll feed up. It's coming like mid-morning-ish, so there's a pretty good chance that he'll be resting in there. We'll find him bedded somewhere. So let's just take this easy. This is morning number one. He's going to be there somewhere, most likely, hopefully.
Yeah.
But let's just take this easy. And then you got a glimpse of an animal on the skyline.
A chamois.
I think we were still filming.
You guys were kind of filming him. I was still looking at him, and then I just look up on the skyline, and there's a chamois buck standing there.
Yeah.
And it was kind of hectic, so I didn't really make a big deal. I was like, oh, there's a chamois buck. And then
Yeah, but
we were still trying to film and everything.
I hardly saw it. Like when you pointed it out, it was already disappearing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we sort of thought, oh yeah, there's a chamois up there. That's pretty cool. And then a little while later, it actually came in again. Did I spot it the second time around when it got closer?
Yeah, you spotted the second time.
And it was sort of coming in our direction, and it was sort of this time of year, the chamois are rutting. So the bucks are cruising around solitary, looking for does, and they can be, the way they sort of move is we call it ridge running. So they stay on the highest point, and they basically run the ridges, and they've got incredible eyesight. Chamois, I believe, are in the antelope family. They're a pretty freaking cool animal.
They are cool.
So anyway, we saw this buck ridge running, and I said to these guys, like, this buck, where he is right now, he's probably half the distance of where the big old stag is, So he's like
big old stag.
Big old stag. So he's half the distance, and I said to these guys, I was like, all right, here's a little trick. Watch this. So you were filming me, eh?
Yeah.
And I started walking around on my hands and knees, like in circles and stuff like that. And then I ripped off my top, and I had a black thermal top on against my skin. So I pulled that off, and I ended up like walking with that like this. I was crouching, and I was basically pretending to be a chamois at a distance where he'd see a black thing moving along. And the plan was to creep up to the ridge. I pushed my trekking poles into the ground and like propped this this black top on my trekking poles, and then snuck back with that black top in between me and this buck. And the buck's at probably, right now he's about 450 yards, 470 yards, I think, when he was on that little rocky outcrop. Mm-hmm. And I said to the guys, you were filming, you were watching him with the binos. I said to the guys, when he sees me, you tell me. And then you called it. He's like, he's looking. So then I crept out of there. He'd seen our decoy, which was a t-shirt. And I crept back to the boys and we're like set up. And the decoy's kind of like waving in the wind, things like that. And the buck like showed interest and he started coming down. And he didn't get halfway to us, But
Not quite, but he definitely came.
he covered about maybe from where we first saw him, maybe 200 yards,
Yeah.
I think. He was in range, shooting range, anyway. And when he was in those boulders.
And then he got into the boulders and he's like, nah, forget it.
Huge boulder field. He got like in, he started going into the boulder field, and then for some reason he just didn't want to cross this boulder field, turned around, went back up, and then bedded down on a ridge,
Yeah.
And he was bedded down. What did we do? What did we do there?
So then we decided, basically, I think that chamois buck was over there, and we knew that the stag had gone over there as well. So we're like, let's just get high above where the chamois was so we can maybe get a chance at him. And also we'll be looking into the zone where the stag went.
Yeah.
That was kind of our plan, I think.
And the main goal was the stag. To find a big mature stag like that is very difficult. To find a mature representative chamois buck is, there. It's
Do you
pretty
think we
easy
made the
to
wrong
find.
call from messing with that chamois instead of just booking it and trying to get on that stag?
I don't think so, to be honest.
We would have caught up with him anyway.
I don't. Even if we left instantly, I still think it would have been the same outcome.
Yeah.
So,
because he was cresting, like we wouldn't have had time to get anywhere near.
no, exactly. Yeah. So we decided to make a move and get into the zone, and basically this chamois was going to watch us coming in. So I said to you guys, I was like, there's a high chance this buck's going to get out of there, but if it does, let's not worry about it. Main priority is finding this big old stag for Hunter. So we basically pretty much started, and it wasn't even long, and that buck was gone.
And we had talked about too doing spot it, got it.
True. Yeah.
Beforehand in the last podcast.
Yep.
So I had spotted the stag, so he was mine.
Yeah.
If we found him.
Exactly. Yeah. So you were up.
And that's what we tried to do. I mean, we messed with the chamois a little bit, but we pretty much sat on his area where we thought we might find him, the next valley over, where we last saw him disappear into, and pretty much we were trying to see if we wait him out and see him again that evening.
Yeah.
That does speak to one thing I wanted to mention about your hunting style that I think I learned from you which is very smart. I mean, it's common sense, but stuff that a lot of guys don't do for some reason. But when you get into a new area, just like have a light footprint, and like be patient and like just start right where you're at, cover that area thoroughly, and like slowly like start to work out, and don't just like go bombing off in all kind of crazy directions and causing chaos.
Yeah, 100%. Longevity is the key in those situations. So it worked out perfectly to get onto where the stag zone is. Like we had to go through some pretty gnarly country, but we basically popped out right above where the stag was last seen. Like we could see the exact rock.
Yeah,
that
I was 200 yards from where he was.
The stag walked past us. There's 3 boulders and a flax bush, and we were right above that. Looking down into the valley where the stag disappeared, the 3 of us are set up there. You're on the cameras. Me and you are like trying to find the stag, and we're looking down into tiger country. It's like sharp ridges, scrub, and
Lots of little lumps and bumps and shit that he could have been sitting behind too.
Exactly. It's like once you're there, like even though we can see quite a lot of it, there's so much we can't see, and just that's the nature of being on the same hillside. Like it doesn't have to be much, and that animal is fully obscured from your view. It's not like you're on the other mountain looking back into that side, So we spent the rest of the day there, eh? Was it the rest of the day?
But we're eating lunch.
In the same spot, still sitting there.
Yep. And we're eating lunch, and I just see this like black hairy blob. Like
before that, let me just say this.
Okay,
Before that, I left these guys, and I just did a quick detour around to try and get a few different angles into the stag zone. Couldn't pick them up. On my way back, I was a bit lower than you guys, And I remember I signaled out to you. Hunter was on the rock bluff, and I signaled out to you. I was like trying to get your attention. And then I'd spotted a chamois buck on the prow below us in kind of that zone. And he was moving through some bluffs, and I was like signaling, chamois sign, doing everything. And he disappeared out of sight. I cut back round, met back up with Hunter and Wade, And then, then what happened, man?
Yeah, then we were eating lunch, and I just see, like, in the corner of my eye, like, something moving, and I look over, and I see that chamois buck, like, 60 yards, like, just moving right up this ridge.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, he was on us. And we thought, let's make a move on the way.
I was like, guys, shh, guys, buck.
Yeah, like, right there.
Don't move.
Right there.
Right there, dude.
So we tried to, like, we did try to make a move on him, man.
Yeah, but he, like, right as we thought he was kind of like down in a thing and couldn't see us. I don't know exactly what happened, but either way, he like wasn't too freaked out, but like knew something was up, you know. And then we tried to get on him though. We almost did.
I got some really good footage of him. I know that.
Yeah.
We should check that footage out at some point. Yeah, super close, big buck, big chamois buck. And anyway, rifles out. We're all trying to get set up, and at this stage, he's like on to us, and he's running below us. Probably like 2 opportunities if I was just hunting. I was on the rifle at this point. Hunter was still going for the big stag. 2 opportunities if I was just hunting, I could have shot him. But when we're trying to line up cameras and all that stuff, like, you know, a lot has to work out. So long story short, this buck disappears, gone. We cut right around to try to get on him again, and we managed to see him at like 400 and something. We're set up on him, but it was just no real good shot. So that was the buck. He disappeared into the oblivion, gone into tiger country. So then we carried on
we
around.
We're acquiring a history with this buck.
Yes, this buck joins the story later on. So while we're now around further, no sign of the big old stag that Hunter
Never
spotted.
saw him.
And then hours have gone past now too, guys. So we thought maybe he's like carried on round into a valley which we named Stag Valley later on. But it's another ridge, and then you're looking into this huge big catchment, and you can see, what was the range across the other side? It was like 2 or 3 kilometers across, but we're looking like flat onto the face.
Yeah,
so
You can see everything.
all of the tiger country that when you're on the same side that you can't look into, we're now on the other side of the mountain looking back at it, and you can just see
It was almost like having a bird's eye view,
Literally.
like into their beds. So you could just see them popping out.
And we sat there for a bit, and we spotted, what do we see, like 2 stags, 2 sort of younger stags on the far side, and some
2
hinds. So it was kind of cool. Like it was very.
Wait, that was the same night?
Yeah, man.
We
was the same
discovered
night.
Stag
Yeah.
Valley.
Yeah.
Was the chamois almost kill
Yeah,
day?
that day was a busy day, bro.
Dude, Dude, that's the night we found Stag Valley.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then as the evening's creeping in and the shadows are starting to grow a bit longer, like we wanted to get down to the bottom end of this other leading ridge we were on, and just open up all this new country. So we were going down, and to the right there was those 2 hinds bedded on the little rocky ridge kind of thing, and we're sort of watching them and stuff. And then we walked down a bit further, and at this point it's coming like the end of the day, like the last half hour maybe or something. And I remember looking into these basins and bowls, and I was like, this area down here looks like a good area. This is probably another running joke that was going on for the whole week.
Definitely.
You tell it, because this is your thing.
Oh yeah, it's just like we get into this area. He's got really good instincts and just like knows what a good area looks like. He's like, this is a good area for a stag. And then like it seemed like 5 seconds later it was like
seconds as a stag.
It just walked out. And so like now every time like we would get into a good spot, I'd be like, yeah, this looks like a good area for a stag. And it's just funny.
Yeah.
We were joking each other's accents the whole time, all of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just he said that, and literally like I don't know, a minute later, what to me looked like a nice young stag walked out. And again, this is for people listening on my show, like a lot of Americans come to New Zealand and, you know, hunt high fence stuff or private land, and you see these like monstrous freaking like freak of nature stags. But that's not what we're doing. We're doing, like we said earlier, public land, wilderness stuff. So they're similar to like an elk, a little smaller. But they have the ivory, like, or the little tusk, we call them ivories, in their mouth. And but anyway, so I knew basically what like a big one was, and what like a not big but mature one was, and what like obviously a small one was. And obviously our goal was, you know, because you're an experienced stag hunter, your goal is to hunt like the big, old, really old, mature guys. And that was our goal in the beginning too. But anyway, he looked to me like a nice young stag.
The stag that walked out was like, he was a mature stag. He was still like all staunch and rutty looking. And he was just like boom, boom, walking through these basins. It was actually really cool, man. Like,
Yeah, it was cool.
Probably got some sick footage of that stag.
I have that burned in my memory.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things that
Yeah.
just stick in your mind that I have that like stuck in
He
my
was
mind.
cool.
Yeah.
And did you mention you roared at him?
I haven't yet, no. So Wade's like, we're filming the stag walking along, and he's not that far away, like 300 and something.
300, yeah.
Yeah. He's like shooting range, and we're like oh,
only
you know,
young.
do we want to shoot him? Do we not want to shoot him? And then
You never even thought about
Yeah,
do
but
we want to
I'm talking about you, bro.
these thoughts were creeping in. I was like, is this like something we go like what do we do here?
Yeah.
But he's like, nah, we want like big.
Well, let's hold out. Like, it's day number 1, bro.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought I said to you guys, I was like, I'll roar at him and see what he does. So I let out his roar, bro, and he like looks up at us, and then he's like all excited and he starts coming towards us. And I roar at him a couple more times, and he's like fully coming
He was
in.
galloping, yeah.
And it's like, I was sort of entailing to this a little bit before, but post rut, normally if you roar at a stag, like they look up at you, they don't want anything to do with you. They're like, they've done their dash. But this guy was keen.
Yeah,
And
he was.
it got me thinking, like what I started to sort of like mention before is the big stag that Hunter spotted. When he was walking away from us and he was stopping and he was looking around, man, if I had roared at him, he potentially could have turned around and come in closer, and we might have got a shot right there and then.
Yeah.
But it's such a risky thing, and at the time I was like, no, there's no way he'll react to a call.
But
this guy did
if he-
really, really well.
But if he didn't react, would he just ignore it, or do you think it could possibly have spooked him? Because if it wouldn't have spooked him, it's like what
in the
what do you have to lose?
past, I have spooked stags from trying to roar at them post rut.
Okay.
So
there's a risk.
There is a risk. There's like a fine line where it works or it can actually blow it. So
Yeah.
that's why I didn't do it.
And it's usually better to have the element of surprise.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So this particular stag that we're watching on evening, this nice sort of rutty younger stag, but still a nice animal, he's definitely keen to come in. And we filmed him like, you filmed him coming like, not super close, but he was coming up, and we actually ran out of daylight and he was still coming. There's a chance he would have come right up.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool, man. That was a
You think
cool
it was
experience.
same size, or how would he rank compared to the stag that ultimately we ended up with?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You think it was bigger?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. But it was, yeah.
Couple
It
of
was
camera jiggles for a sec. I'm just going to flip this around so everyone can see what we're doing.
That's
Yeah,
a good
sweet.
idea. Yeah, that was a nice
Yeah.
encounter.
It was a cool encounter, man. And this is day 1 too. You got to remember, like, this is day 1 of the trip. So we hiked back in the dark, and yeah, it was a bit of a mission getting back to camp, but we got back to camp.
I think that's the night when that was the second night, right?
Yeah.
So that's the night when we invented the "don't step here, you'll die" thing.
Basically, it accumulated
I-
over time.
Yeah, but I looked back at Wade and I was like, I love how he says like really scary stuff in the most calm way ever, and then it just became a joke.
Literally.
But yeah, I mean, legit, like was that the mudslide
Yeah.
night? Yeah, like
Oh,
one
that
time
was
we
later
walked-
on, wasn't it?
Mudslide?
Not really. It's just like on one of these dark, scary walks home, we were going across the scree field, and it was a particular size of scree that, like, when Joe stepped on it, like, literally,
Oh.
I'd say, like, 30, 40 meters above you, like,
Started
started
to move.
shifting. Like,
Yeah.
it
Every
could
step.
go.
That
And so me and you were like, we just, like, scurried across that thing
Yeah.
real quick.
that night you're talking about was the night I had my success. So that's
Okay.
like,
Well, anyway, it's just another example of
Yeah.
the scary terrain. Mudslide zones.
Yeah. So that was day 2.
day
Yeah.
2. Yeah.
Day 2.
First full day, but day 2 being in there.
Yeah.
So day 3, man, what happened?
Where were we? Day 3.
I don't remember.
Day 3.
Isn't that the fog day?
Day 3,
Day 3 was a late start because it was there was low cloud, eh?
yeah, I feel like that was it. Was it that day? Anyway, we probably should have like kept notes and figured out which day it was which. But
I think that's the day we basically couldn't hunt all day because of cloud
yeah.
before the storm came in.
So we're at
Right?
camp, in our camp base, and I think it is. I think let's just say it was. So
It was.
we're at camp. We can't see 50 yards because it's thick cloud. We're in
Yeah.
the cloud, and it's basically for me personally, when I go on these hunts, if it's clagged in like that, if you can't see because of the cloud, there's definitely no point in walking around because
There was some rain too happening.
yeah, you don't know if you're going to walk 50 yards and there'll be a big stag right there that you're going to blow for the rest of your trip. So in that situation, I like to stay at camp and just wait it out. So pretty much that's what we did, eh? We literally just chilled at camp all day. It
We
started
were in my
raining.
teepee.
Yep, we were in your
Yeah.
teepee. We were,
So I got to mention the teepee because although it did get destroyed in this storm, this was a storm from hell. and that's not a 4-season shelter either. It's it's designed to be a 3-season shelter, but it is super nice. The seek outside Cimarron, and I had a half nest in there, so I have like a half enclosed with the bathtub floor and screen and zipper and all that, and the other half is just completely open. And there was enough room where we were both sitting inside with chairs, and Wade was in there too, like crouched in the door, kind of. You could have put your chair there if you wanted to.
Literally.
It was really nice, man.
Yeah,
we were just chilling.
I love that shelter, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't survive the storm, but it's
we
a
were
great
chilling
shelter.
in there, cooking coffees and just yarning.
I remember waking up that morning and unzipping my tent and being like, day off today, because it was like full whiteout cloud.
Yeah, couldn't see anything.
It was and that was like I set my alarm to like 6:30 every day and open like when you wake up in your tent, still lets a little bit of light in, and it was still dark, and I'm like, it's not right. And opened my tent up, and I'm like, it was just like full whiteout fog, rain cloud basically, and then it rained most of the day, and then I think we glassed the arbo. Yeah,
we had I think we had. So the forecast was saying we were going to have a 2 or 3 day period where there was going to be a bit of rain, potentially a bit of snow, and low cloud and stuff. So this was day number 1 of that forecast.
Yeah.
And it came in heavy enough to not really let us do much. If we glassed, we went to the top and glassed, but we couldn't really see that much off memory.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was basically a write-off
Basically
day.
a lost day. Yeah.
It pretty much was.
The next day is this when the storm rolls in.
Okay.
I'm going to quickly check. I'm pretty sure what happened is day 3 was the rain out day. Day 4 and 5 was the storm day.
Yeah,
And
we're on track.
Yeah.
then day
So-
6.
So let me say this. So I'm in my 3-season shelter.
Yep.
About 4 a.m., I start noticing, it's getting loud in here.
Yeah,
Like
windy.
it's getting windy. Yeah. And so I actually put earplugs in to so I could sleep, because my thing was flapping around quite a bit. But I was like fine. I thought it was it was fine. Woke up, I was like, dang, it's gotten pretty windy, and I'm sitting inside my teepee and texting my wife and stuff like that. I'm like, man, it's windy, and so I started having to actually put my hand on the front of the thing to kind of brace it, and then I'm literally texting my wife a picture, like as a joke, of me with my hand on the shelter like this, and the second I hit the send button, I kid you not, boom, the shelter just goes, and I just get a blast of like water in the face. And it's just gone. And I'm like, oh, shelter down.
I heard that from my tent, shelter down. And I thought he was talking about the communal fly that we had set up down in this little valley that we were cooking our meals under at night. So I thought you were talking about that, man. And I like unzip, peek out. I'm like, Hunter's like sitting out in the middle of nowhere. His tent's just gone, flattened around him. And me and Wade's got the camera out.
I just looked straight out of my camera. Like I was still in my sleeping bag, like on my bed, and I just got the camera ready and just went like, unzipped my tent this far, and just went like.
Yeah, I vividly remember seeing the FX6 like boom, and Wade's like, Hunter's like scrounging around.
I was scrambling, trying to get all my stuff, make sure it stayed dry.
I quickly put my boots, rain gear on, jumped out, and then we managed to get all your stuff somewhat dry, but I pulled down the main communal shelter, pulled all the pegs, pulled out a backup tent that I normally always carry 1 or 2 backup tents. In this situation, I had another 4-season backup tent, pulled that out, set that up as quick as we can in this wind, in this rain, and then we started ferrying your stuff.
We got a pretty quick transition.
Real quick.
It was really nice.
We kind of had to be though, man, because it's like we didn't want any of the gear to get wet, because once it's wet, it stays wet.
No, that's a big deal. Yeah, so
And
I was really happy you were prepared and you guys helped me out. And that's a note for guys, like going back to what I said earlier, I wasn't quite mentally prepared, and equipment wise, maybe I should have brought a 4-season shelter. And if you're coming to New Zealand, I highly recommend that. So anyway, but you guys, you were prepared, and you guys helped me out, and we got to move pretty quick.
Yeah, like one thing for New Zealand, like you just don't fuck with New Zealand. People think it's like pretty chill. It is not. It is like one of the most dangerous places for mountain hunting and mountaineering in the world. And like you get wet here, you stay wet, and you stay wet, you get cold, and you get cold, you die. It's literally like that simple. So like that happened, and then as soon as like the wind was starting to get up and stuff, and Joe was on his inReach talking to Scott, the chopper pilot, and getting some forecasts and having a bit of a look around, and it was like wasn't forecast to be as bad as what it was getting.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm reasonably savvy, not Joe savvy, but reasonably savvy with a lot of things, and I'm a man of pretty good preparation and stuff, bit of a practical thinker. So I just started like pulling guy ropes off my spare tent, tying everything down, getting all my waterproof jackets out, gear, all of that sort of stuff, tucking stuff under, putting weights down, everything, double pegging everything, all that sort of stuff after Hunter's stuff got
I
sorted.
do the same thing too. Like I cut extra guy lines
Yeah.
for that MSR, and I put every single guy out.
Because I knew it was probably going to get bad. And then by that time, it was like lunchtime, after lunch-ish.
Yeah.
And then that's when you said like, yeah, no, boys, we're in for like a blizzard.
I should say this. So our forecast had
Hey
changed.
boys, weather's about to get a bit hectic.
Don't you think his accent sounds like a South African Englishman? Anyway, so the forecast had changed, and now we're due for some pretty gnarly winds, which we were going to get winds always, but we weren't going to get quite the winds that we were about to get. And Scott told me, I remember in his message, he's literally like, yeah, it's going to blow its ass off till Friday. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is like Scott can see on the computer back at the Halley Rural base, he can like see forecasts, he's got his phone, he's got all the apps. For us, where we are now, no reception, we've only got our InReach forecast, which is basically a pretty basic sort of forecast. Yeah. It does the job, but Scott can really see like fine detail, and he said, yeah.
And it was saying way off on the winds. It was saying like 30-mile-an-hour winds, and that was like half.
Yeah. So anyway, all of a sudden it's kind of like, okay, guys, no, this is our 3 rainy days of actually going to be something that's a little bit more serious. So let's just be careful here. And I remember vividly, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember vividly like going out of my tent, like leaning out there and yelling to you guys, these tents are built for this kind of stuff, 4-season tents, but they are not indestructible.
So they're not invincible.
Invincible, was that what it was?
Yeah.
So I said that to the boys, and I said, the wind's picking up, obviously. And a little bit later on, you said to me, you asked me if I'm nervous or are you anxious? And I said, I'm not nervous or anxious, but if we lose 2 more tents, I will start to think that, we need to be real careful.
By this time, it was the afternoon.
Yep.
Yeah, and like the wind was progressively getting worse. Like it was bad enough to blow a 3-season tent on its ass at 8:30 in the morning, and then it was progressively getting worse all day, and like to the point where I was just getting food and everything. I went down and got water, like got bulk water and food, because I felt like I was pretty confident we were going to be crammed in shelter for at least 2 days, at least 24 hours. Snacks in there, everything, and just started like taping stuff up and making sure all ports were covered from getting stuff wet and everything like that. And put all my clothes like in my sleeping bag, everything like that.
It's still raining at this point a little bit, but now it's starting to transition into sleet and snow.
Yeah. Starting to get proper cold, and then it was like getting some serious gusts. Like it was blowing all day, and then the rain turned to sleet, and it got a bit nasty. But then every now and then you just get this big punch of like gusts of wind, where it was sort of like, ooh, it's like
the whole tent would like punch in.
Yeah, it was like getting eerie, man.
So our little secluded little basin, our protected little basin, we were starting to cop the effects of a real severe storm. If we were back up on the top of the ridges, we'd already be over. It would already be done.
Yeah.
But where we were sheltered enough, so we were still protected. But this little basin was still copping a lot of serious wind, and we kind of thought maybe it could be kind of vortexing in there.
Yeah.
It was not the strength it was on the very top, but it was definitely we were definitely getting hit by this thing, and we had a long time ahead of us. The storm was it was only just starting basically.
Yeah. It was very bad at like 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And we knew it was going to be getting worse like until maybe halfway through the next day.
Yeah.
And so, in your mind, like I've been through some storms, nothing like this, but like usually, like you guys said before, it's like a few hours at least of like pretty bad. This was like solid 12 plus hours of like the worst wind I've ever been in.
Yeah.
I'd had a storm this year already that destroyed a whole tent. Like I got tent destroyed, but it was a 4-hour basically front that came through that was strong enough to just destroy a tent. This thing was like already an hour. If we count 8:30 in the morning, this was already hour 12, and it's just building and building and building.
Yeah.
So it was dark at this point. I think the first like real serious point was you. I heard you you said something, and I remember like looking out and I could see your torch and stuff, and you'd said that the bottom of your pole had broken and your fly was come off the actual frame. Yeah. That was probably the start of when shit got serious.
Yeah, so there was this was just on dark, just after dark, basically. And when we were getting the gusts, we were all just sort of holding our frames up and everything, sitting in our tents and everything like that. And
You can hear the gust.
Yeah.
You could hear the gust
literally
coming.
sounds like a jet airliner. Like around the corner, you can hear this like
Huge
rumble.
airplane taking off.
And then all of a sudden, like 5 seconds later, you just put your hands up and just go like, boof, and your whole tent would just go down for a second. And we're grabbing like the whole frame and holding up the tent because it's like blowing in on you and everything. And then basically they're carbon poles, which are really good actually because they flex incredibly well. And they've got these feet inserts that go into them, and you put them into your vestibule that your fly also attaches to and everything like that. They snapped and popped out on my tent. And that was the point where I was like, all right, now it's just going to slowly degrade from here and everything's just going to start breaking. So like, that's when I was in there. Like I pulled out, I always carry like a little bit of paracord and VB cord and everything in my kit. Like it's just laying around everywhere. And I just started tying shit together, tying zippers together, everything that I possibly could. I had a tent, I had my trekking pole. So it's hard to explain without actually showing people, but the top bar of the tent comes down and then it goes to a T, and there's like this plastic connector, T-piece connector. I had my trekking pole up in that and wedging it up because if I didn't, the 2 feet broke off and the tent would have collapsed. So I had the legs tied in back to the tabs that hold the vestibule together. Super hard to explain visually, but tying the legs back down to the vestibule, and then I had a trekking pole up into the plastic T-piece insert to try and hold the tent upwards and keep it like alive for a little bit longer, basically. And it was after dark at that point.
It was way after. That would have been 8:30, I reckon.
Yeah,
8:30
9 o'clock.
You had both your trekking poles on either side. I had one trekking pole because where my tent was, the wind was copping on side on, so I was copping it on the side, and I had one trekking pole up holding that edge of the frame, and then the bottom end was in a boot, and that boot was wedged in against my leg as I'm lying in my bed. So when the wind pushed it, it acted like an extra support. But you, on your angle, you had both in, didn't you? Because your spine was to the wind.
I actually asked you, I was like, Joe, are you like holding your tent up? Like, are you? And so you're like, you told me about your contraption. So I did the same thing. I grabbed both my boots and I jammed trekking poles in there and then had the handles up like right in the top, part of the, holding the main structure up. And I had my bag behind my back and I had my little like light, my little lantern on. I was like, all right, this is it, dude. Like this
I'm
is
here for the night.
I'm here for the night. I was holding the trekking poles, and then when the like huge gust would come, I would just I'm telling you, dude, just like, and like I got to the point where I was saying this to you in the hunt, like normally places where I go hunt, obviously not like Alaska and stuff, but most places there is some sort of escape. You can hike back to your truck if you have to, or you can call for help, or there's some out if you need it, like I had that realization moment of like, either this tent survives or we're going to be literally like in survival mode, snuggling together under a tarp, just waiting this thing out. Like there's no other option. Like there's no escape. So it's like, so I just literally sat there. I did my absolute best. And I was like, you're going to have to fight this thing like all night long. Yeah. And I just literally prayed the whole night pretty much and just held that thing up. And I got to think it had something to do with why my tent survived.
Yeah, well, you're about.
Not saying you guys weren't fighting, but I'm saying the prayers and just like I was just like in that thing, dude. So when you came in, I was just like, "What's up?"
I think it was about 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. I saw the inside piece of my tent. I saw a rip appear along the seam, the center seam. Now, my particular tent, it's an Access 2, so it's the same one as what Wade's in, same one as what Hunter's in, but it's about 5 seasons old. It's seen some crazy storms already. It's got a new outer fly because it's probably on outer fly number 3, to be honest, because last year the Kias destroyed one. I think they destroyed one a bit earlier on. But the general structure of this tent has seen 5 seasons, and so 5 seasons of storms. So anyway, I looked up and I saw this tear just open up on the inside of my tent, and I was like, oh man. I tried to tape it together, but it was just like the forces on the outside of the tent were like ballooning the inside of the tent, which caused it to tear down the center. And that tear just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And next thing you know, it's like the whole thing is open. The entire inside of my tent was open, and there was just the outer fly above me with the frame kind of thing. So I'm looking up at it and I'm like, man, if I lose that outer fly, I'm out of this tent. I got to go. So when my inner started ripping, everything of mine was in dry bags. Everything was secured. It was all like contained, and I sort of just sat there. And then it was about 2:30 to 3 o'clock where I heard a rip. I could look and I saw my fly just go poof, rip down the middle and basically disappear off the top of me. And I said to Hunter, I was like, Hunter, have you got room in there? And he's like,
I was like, hey Hunter, you got room in there, mate?
and anyway, so
Like
now,
all calm and just like happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
Like not like, oh crap, my tent's gone.
Yeah.
He's like, Hunter, you got room in there?
you got room in there, Hunter? And then, so I get out of my tent, rain gear on, everything like that. Temperature's probably like -1, -2, maybe. Oh,
Inside my
temperature.
tent, I also had all my puffies and all my rain gear on me.
Yep.
I'm just ready for like survival mode.
So the temperature -1, -2 was saying on the inReach, but wind chill and all that, it was probably like well into the negatives. It was
cold,
super
man.
cold. I remember I got out, head torch on, got out. I got a couple of bits and pieces, burned them over to Hunter's tent, threw them in. But my tent, I basically took the main structure down to try flatten it, and I managed to get it flat. I think I put big boulders on top of it, but I just didn't want it to just blow off and disappear. I had things in dry bags still inside the mess, basically. So I tried to anchor it down, climbed into your tent. Oh, on my way to his tent, I thought, I'll check on Wade, I'll check on everyone's guy ropes to make sure the stakes are all in. I did that with Hunter's. I went over to Wade's. I was like, Wade, and in the head torch, in my headlight, I could sort of pick him out in the snow and stuff. It's just like freaking horizontal, just smashing me. I got blown off my feet, like I'm fully standing up. Poof, got blown off my feet, and I managed to stop myself from hitting the ground. That's how strong the wind was.
Which is why there was no chance of hiking out of there. We
No.
would have died if we tried to hike out.
So I get over to Wade's tent, and I at this point in time, I think that Hunter's tent's okay and Wade's tent's okay, because I was the only one that showed damage. I was like, all right, my fly's gone. I'm coming over, Hunter. I get over to Wade's tent, and I see Wade's tent. It had no sides on it, man. And I was like, oh shit. And I could see string holding bits together, and I get up there. I was like, Wade, are you all right? And then I hear he's like, yeah, man, I'm all good. And he's like curled up in a survival bivvy inside this ruins of a tent. Yeah. And you were like full
chilling, bro.
space blanket up. He was just like in this ball in there.
Yeah.
All your stuff. Yeah. What did you have in there? Like everything.
Everything, pretty much. So basically, like at the same time all this shit was going down, Hunter was trying to like keep his thing up. All Joe's tent collapsed and all that stuff was happening. At the same time, how I said my legs popped out. Basically, every gust, it got worse and worse. And what happened was the carbon poles snapped. And then what they did was puncture the inner and puncture the center of the inner and then puncture the fly. So then the fly ripped off the sides of the tent on each side, basically. And the front of my tent collapsed. So I had half a tent with no sides on it. Once it proper collapsed, I was like, there's no point trying to hold this thing up. I need to stay warm and dry or I'm going to die, basically. So in my pack, I have a solid survival bivvy. It's like a little orange thermal blanket bag, basically, like foil. It packs down to absolutely nothing. It's lived in my bag forever, and I've never used it until this particular point, and I'm damn glad I had it. So basically what I did was opened it up, shoved all my clothes and all my wet weather gear, put everything on, covered my boots up, sleeping bag in there, everything, and just slid up in that, pulled it up over my head.
Were you in your sleeping bag?
Hey?
Were you in your sleeping bag?
I was in my sleeping bag, and the sleeping bag had all my clothes in it to keep them warm and dry, and then also I had them on me as well, and then slid inside the survival bivvy, basically, and just pulled it up over my head, because I was like, there's no point telling the boys what's going on. They've got their own shit to do, and I'm quite capable of sorting my own stuff out. Put my AirPods in, put some music on, curl up in my little thing, because I was like, if my tent blows over now, I'm chill. I'll just roll up in my survival blanket and I'll
Was there stuff like slapping you?
Yeah, basically. I had my beanie on and stuff and just like pulled it over my head, and I was just
Was it
sitting in
warm?
and
Were you
chilling.
warm?
It was warm to the point where it was like probably getting bad because the condensation from me being hot and it being so cold outside, inside the bag was sweating and making my sleeping bag wet. So probably like couldn't have done it for too long really, even though it probably would have been warm. So while all that shit was going down, I was doing that, and then I heard Joe like sing out to me in between the gusts, and I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm good.
When I saw him, it was like just a ball of plastic. That's what he looked like. And he was just like curled up in there, just having a great time.
I was chilling.
I went round, I checked all the pigs and jumped into Hunter's tent, and then me and Hunter were like sitting in there. There wasn't many words spoken. Like Hunter was in the corner like this, wide eyes. I was in there. We talked about like the situation and all that. We talked about our options, didn't we?
Yeah.
And that's when we thought the nearest backcountry hut, which we saw early on in the trip, was was so far away. But we sort of decided that
We talked about this. So it'd be too dangerous to walk in that. Like you would get blown right off. And
you think you could go down there, but in reality, man, if I'm standing up and I get blown off my feet in camp, can you imagine trying to
Crest a ridge for starters.
Yeah, and just can you imagine like navigating through tiger country, which is hard enough without anything like that, but you've
in the
got
daylight,
horizontal wind with ice and snow, and it's like -10 or something
in
like
pitch
that.
black darkness,
100+ kilometer-hour winds blowing you off your feet.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
So the only choice was to just hunker down and just weather it out, eh?
Yeah, and the other thing was too, like, we had the gear, and if we lost more tents, it probably might have got a tad difficult after that point. But like, we could have taken the easy route and went and bailed and went down to the hut, but that's hunt over, and we're only halfway through the amount of days that we had available to us.
But
too.
let me just say,
that moment came a little
that
later.
moment's like at the tail end of this whole thing. So
we had that moment
in the daylight, but
Oh, that was the next day. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
bro.
It was
Yeah,
still
that
blowing.
was-
I forget how long that. thing was.
we literally had 12 hours of 100k winds or whatever it was before daylight even hit, where
Yeah.
we could even think about bailing
That's
down.
right.
So
yeah.
while we're in the tent, we were saying like, okay, backup plan. And remember, I said to you, I was like, I've got a survival bivvy, what he does, but you didn't. And I said, okay, if this tent goes, me and you are gonna find.
Well, you said I have a tarp. You said grab your tarp
Yep.
and wrap up and
We'll go in there together. We'll stay together. We'll roll up in it, and we'll just try and be watertight. And basically, we'll just sit still. That was our backup plan together. And
we had all our rain gear on, everything, and like ready to go, pretty much.
Yeah.
But boots on and everything. We're in the tent, like ready to get out, sort of thing. So
Because we were thinking it could go at any moment, and we sat there and pretty much fought it. I think, you seemed a little bit more relaxed than I was. I don't know. Maybe I was just on the windy side of the tent. But then finally, like around daylight, you were like, well, if it keeps up like this and like it's really bad, we can get out of here. Like now it's daylight, we kind of like, we could walk out of here if we need to. And for whatever reason, that gave me enough peace to just be like, I'm so tired. All right, we're going to walk out of here, whatever. And so I passed out for like 4 hours once it got day.
Yep.
And it had calmed down maybe 5 or 10% off like level 10.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite level 10 yet, so
the gusts were
anymore.
still damaging, but it was like we're now not dealing with the pitch black and the really crazy gusts.
Yeah.
But it's still like things were getting destroyed
Wrecked
still.
Yeah. And we didn't know if it was going to just start getting level 10 bad again.
I would borderline say it was probably the same. The only thing that made it feel better was you could see.
You could see, yeah.
I think that was the only thing.
Yeah.
And like,
So I was just like, screw it, man.
Yeah.
I just like passed out.
I'm kind of weird because I was like there was like time in the middle of the night where I was like giggling to myself about it because like this sort of shit excites me, which is like a weird thing when I think about it. But like, I love this kind of stuff, and I'm not a person that stresses too much under pressure. I don't know where I got it from. I've sort of always been like that, just like pretty cool, calm, and collected. And I feel like that's the key to making good decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I was with you guys because you guys were both pretty chill and pretty confident, and so
Every now and again through the night, I'd yell out to Wade, so I didn't have to look out and exposed to the elements. I'd yell out, Wade, are you right? Are you warm? Everything like that. And you were always like, yeah, man, sweet, all good, happy.
Yeah.
You know,
Making coffee.
And then the next day, like me and Hunter are in our tent, like talking about plans and like what we're going to do, like trying to patch up little damages and whatever we were doing. And I remember I was like, Wade, you all good? And it's like, like craziness. And he's like, yeah, bro, just making coffee.
And this is like after he'd been literally in, I was like, I remember I was like, dude, I feel bad for Wade. He's like been hanging out like in a trash bag for like 16 hours, and because this is like middle of the day of the next day at this point.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, you all right? He's like, yeah, mate, just making coffee. We're like, how is he making coffee in a trash bag?
I put my little boiler inside, man. And I got my whole box of little coffee sachets.
Yeah.
I was in there making coffee, just jamming, listening to the podcast and shit.
And it was still bad at this point.
It was still really bad.
But this is when we came out and had that conversation. So in my mind, for whatever reason, I'm thinking we can bail down to the cabin and basically wait out the storm, because we didn't know if it was going to get really bad again that night or stay super bad. And so I was thinking, we just wait it out and then we either come back up or Scott takes us somewhere else. Like, I didn't realize like that would be the end if we went down. So, but then you guys started talking about it, and you said like, if we go down, like that's pretty much the end of our hunt. And I was like, and then Wade chimed in and we both were like, no. We got to stick this out.
We've made it this far, eh? We've made it this far through. I mean, now there's daylight, we can see destruction, and we've got like all of this chaos all around us. It literally looks like a bomb has gone off. There's like things everywhere. I found his rifle case like way up the valley, and there was this stuff everywhere.
And I think a lot of people would have quit and wanted to hike out or call for help or whatever,
And I think it's like fighting that urge and making common sense based decisions. So like, if we did hike out, you are still at risk from like doing that, because you're still descending in pretty shitty weather, and you're descending a long way through birch forest and everything else, nasty stuff to get down to the hut. On top of that, like, I'm very outcome focused, so I wasn't thinking about the storm. I was thinking about worst case scenario is like, I could die. How do I die? I die of hypothermia. What do I need to do to stop hypothermia? I need to stay warm and I need to stay dry, and that's all I focused on, staying warm and dry. And then all I did was just warm and dry, warm and dry, warm and dry. And everything I did was focused around that. And then whatever else happened didn't really matter. And how I felt about it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And I think that puts you in a better mindset to make those kind of decisions.
For sure, yeah.
I think it definitely helped. I'll just quickly touch on, I think, like from my perspective, lessons learnt. So what I would probably do if I knew this was coming, we obviously didn't know how bad it was, but if I was to be a bit more proactive than I was, because I already pegged everything down, on most tents, your main seams have like fly loops, have guy rope loops attached. I would tighten all those down super tight. But on your fly, like your doors, those loops that aren't stitched on as heavy, I would probably loosen them off so they can compress a bit better without ripping at the loop, because that's what did tear. I would ensure my tent was spine into the wind. That's another key thing. But I would also probably, with your feet, I would almost tape a peg against your poles of your frame into the ground and onto your straps that go to your feet. Like, tape your feet onto your little rings that your feet sit into on your vesticles. And that way, like, because that was the start. Once they popped out, everything else broke from the back of that.
Yeah, it's
from
like
the lack of
chain reaction. Eh?
Yeah, it was. So like, if I stopped that, it probably would have saved the tent potentially.
In my tent, where my tent failed, apart from the inner failing, I actually got out and I did that. I got my tape and I taped the fly to the poles, to the bottoms. I did that. I went around and did that. But where my fly ripped and failed is what Wade touched on, is the middle guy ropes, not the main structural guy ropes, the middle ones that are halfway up, like on the doors and stuff. We had them all tight and tensioned. And I think my fly failed because basically the guy rope pulled off the fly, which created a small hole, and then that hole just basically blew up. And
that fly's taking the brunt of those gusts.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's massive one, man. Like, use the main structure guy ropes, but definitely don't go over tight with the smaller ones, the center ones. I'm probably not even going to use those in the future at all, because that was with your tent. The piece of damage that we were most concerned about, was one of those tie points got ripped out, and there was like a groove like the size of my thumb, a gap, like a rip, and we were worried about that rip expanding, remember?
Yeah.
So
we were trying to
on the MSR.
We were trying to tape on the MSR that me and you spent the night in. So,
but dude, I just gotta say that was legit, like one of the scariest, maybe the scariest and maybe closest to death, honestly, if I'm being completely honest.
It's up there.
That
with
I've
mine
been
too.
on a hunting trip for sure, maybe in my life.
It's definitely up there. I've done some pretty stupid shit in my life, but like it's definitely up there with the most dangerous shit I've done. And I think like it's one of those things where you're one bad decision or one emotionally based decision away from death. Like you do one bad thing wrong
Yeah.
and it sets in
Yeah.
course, like it's like literal final destination shit.
Yeah.
Like sets in course a chain of events where you end up hypothermic and dead.
Yeah.
It like I felt like I was on a tiny sailboat in the middle of the ocean in a huge storm. Like that's what like it felt like. It was like outside is death. Like
Yeah.
and it sounded like, I don't know why it just seemed like oceanic to me. That's just, maybe that's what I know, but like it sounded like tsunamis of like rain and wind, just like, and then they would just like bam and just pound, dude. And like it was scary, man. It was like legit scary.
What I did like that we all did was like, it wasn't one of those things where someone did something stupid and was like, oh, fuck you too, I'm going down to the hut. Like every decision was made as a
that'd be
team
bad.
and we all communicated everything clearly and like shared gear, shared everything. Like
Yeah.
No, it
We
was-
were a good team.
It was
Yeah.
a full team thing,
it
man.
was good.
Yeah,
It was,
well-
yeah.
For me, it was like I've weathered a number of storms, and this one was the worst by far. In the fact that it just went
didn't
on
stop,
and
man.
on and on.
It's an honor to know that I was there with you during the worst storm you've ever experienced, because that's saying a lot for this guy. He spends a lot of time in the mountains, and like I kept being like the whole as it was getting worse the whole time. I was like, "Is this the worst one you've had yet?" He's like, "Not yet." But then finally he was like, "Yeah, maybe it is."
Yeah, so we found out afterwards. We found out the next day that it was categorized as a 50-year storm,
Yeah.
and there was massive flooding over on the East Coast, and it was crazy. And I started getting like friends sending me messages on the InReach and stuff saying like of hearing about so many other hunters that have had their tents and stuff just demolished and stuff. So we weren't alone in the backcountry
Yeah.
at that time, and it was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was hectic, and we documented a fair bit of it. We definitely didn't document the peak of it because it was like life or death.
You couldn't document that.
But
I
I think
got some stuff
I think
every now and then.
the stuff we captured, man, like it's probably going to show. It's definitely going to show you guys if you watch our videos. It'll show you like the build up to it, and like it'll show you pieces enough to tell how serious the story was, and then the next day you can see the aftermath and all that. Like it's
I've got iPhone footage inside my tent of sitting there like this, and it's like you can hear the rumble, and then your tent's like wobbling and shaking, and everything's compressing in between all the poles and everything, and then all of a sudden it just goes like,
Yeah, just goes nuts.
all flattened on top of
yeah,
it.
literally like
Punches
down
you
in
in
my
the
hands, are, like
face.
wedged in there and shit. Like, to be honest, you could probably cut that in. Like, it's
I'll use it, man.
it's
Sure.
crazy bad. Like, yeah, it's
But anyway, we survived it.
We did.
We persevered, and we decided not to leave with our tails between our legs, and we kept hunting.
I would have been disappointed if you two made that decision. To be honest, I would have been mad.
Me personally, there was no way I would do that, but I didn't want to be the guy to keep you guys back.
Oh,
so
yeah, no.
it
I
was-
would not. No.
Yeah, we stayed.
We stayed.
We stayed, and the rest of that next day, it was still bad. It was still like we were camped down. We were basically
Oh, it
in
was still
pick up-
touch and go the whole next day.
pick up the pieces kind of mode for the next day, and then
It was still so bad the next day we couldn't hunt the whole day.
exactly so, and then it was the following day. Let's just jump forward into that. Like we
Yeah.
woke up the following day to a nice morning.
Crystal
Yeah,
clear
a nice
skies, like
Looked outside.
No
there's
clouds.
Snow. We now got. There
Yeah,
was
that
no
was
snow
only-
before, but now we've got snow. It's like a whole change of environment basically. But we've got some calm weather, which now
After
we can.
3 full days in the tent.
Yeah.
literally.
Now we can actually hunt, man. So we sort of get our stuff ready. We knew that this was going to happen. We got our stuff ready, and we went up to our little vantage point, and we started glassing for the morning, having our breakfast and coffees there as the sun's coming up and all that sort of stuff, eh?
Yeah.
And we'd seen prior to that we'd seen deer on our face. I don't think we actually touched base about the stag and the hinds and the helicopter coming in.
No,
Remember?
we didn't.
Yeah.
Was that before the storm?
That was just before the storm. I'll just quickly touch base about it, but during one of our glassing mornings, we had spotted a younger stag, some hinds, and then another stag way up, bedded. We had a helicopter come in with obviously a guide and some clients, and they were heli hunting, so they were flying around basically looking for animals. They'd land, they'd get out and shoot the animal, and then fly off with the animal. That unfortunately happened right in our zone.
Yeah.
And so
So
we
that
watched,
might have affected some of that hunting in that area too.
yeah. So we watched this helicopter do its thing, and we saw the deer just bail and get out of there. The closest stag and his 2 hinds, it was real interesting behavior. He got up, he looked up to where the helicopter was, and then he dove 4 yards or so,
Just dug in the scrub.
buried himself into the scrub. You could just see the top of his antlers like this, poking out of the scrub. And the 2 hinds that were with him just stayed where they were. But this stag like fully hid in amongst the scrub.
Yeah.
So that was very cool behavior. Instead of just running and
You just
opening
hid.
himself up to the helicopter, he just hid. It was wild
Yeah,
to
it was
watch.
cool.
We got video of that too,
Yeah.
So
But anyway, back to after the storm.
yeah. I think
And I don't know if we mentioned it, but so we had the fog day, really bad storm, full day, and then the next full day again of still so windy and bad we can't hunt. So that's 3 full days. Then this day happened. We wake up. It's finally nice. We gear up. We're ready to go. We go to the top. I'm not sure if we saw deer that morning. Didn't we see?
we didn't see deer, but I spotted
saw-
the chamois.
Right.
So I saw a chamois way off. It walked around this piece, and I said to Hunter, and
Not
Wade-
far from where we saw the big stag the first day.
Exact same zone, actually, to be honest. And I said to Wade and Hunter, I was like, chamois over there. And then by the time I told them and looked back, there was like 5 more. So there was a group of 6 chamois cruising around. And we watched them just like mill around like this. And then a little while later, a single one came through where they were. So we decided, let's go. We basically packed our gear. And we started cutting up above through the mountain to try and get above them. So, because we've been over that area, remember? So we tried to get up above them where we could look down and hopefully get a look at them and wait for a buck. Because it was obviously a doe group. It was obviously females, young ones. But this time of year, there's going to be a buck nearby. So that was our plan.
Their rut.
Yeah, that was our plan. Like get on and watch these live decoys, and eventually a buck's going to turn up. And as we were making our way there, like we're walking through deeper snow, we're walking through all these boulders and stuff that we went through before, but now the boulders are glazed with a thick layer of ice, so it's like super
Even more dangerous.
super treacherous. All the scree fields are frozen, so you can't walk across the scree, otherwise you'd literally just slip to the bottom and die.
I was literally walking in your boot tracks, so I knew that would be like not.
As I was walking, every step I was boom, cracking my heel in,
Yeah.
boom, cracking my heel. I had crampons back at camp, but these guys didn't. So I didn't want to be wearing crampons when these guys didn't, because obviously that's not going to end well, because they won't be able to go where I can go. So because we all didn't have crampons, we all weren't wearing crampons. So yeah, heels digging in, and we tried to cut our path. And long story short, we got above these chamois, and we were just getting down into the little zone, and then I spotted 2 chamois in the scrub. You got on them, and we started watching them, and then they disappeared pretty quick. And then we got all fully set up. Wade was there with the cameras.
What did you ask me before when we were on the way to the chamois?
You tell me.
You don't remember?
No.
You asked me about the buck.
What about it?
You don't remember?
No.
You basically asked me if I wanted to shoot it.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah. So
True. Yeah. You probably should touch on that.
yeah, I think it's important. He said, "Do you want to shoot it?" And I didn't really answer. And then I was kind of thinking. He goes, "You think about it, and then let me know." And so I knew kind of what I was gonna say, but then I just like, okay, I'll think about it. And so I thought about it for just a second. And I was like, all right, I thought about it. I want you to shoot the chamois because we'd already talked about. I don't know. In that moment, I didn't think about it too analytically, but it just felt like your buck. Because you'd kind of been, in a way, hunting it the whole time with the decoy thing. We think it might have been that same buck. Then you almost got him the next day when we saw him at close range. You spotted him this day, and yeah, I just felt like it was your buck. And
Joe was one with the chamois. You'll see the footage on these guys' episodes. It's like Joe crawling around, trying to pretend to be a chamois.
Yeah.
On the earlier days that we were saying about, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, and it was. It just felt like, and then I wanted to obviously I kind of had my heart more set on a stag as well, but it just felt right. I didn't want to be like, nah, man, I got to shoot this one. You know?
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
And I'm glad you got it because
So
it's a nice. Okay,
we haven't got
good.
it yet. We haven't got it yet. You guys don't know. So yeah, anyway, so all of a sudden I'm like, all right, well, yeah, man. I'll get on that rifle. So we set up, and we didn't even know there was going to be a buck there at this point. So we literally.
But we saw one that we thought was probably a buck cruising around, didn't we?
Yeah, we did from camp, but you're talking a kilometer away.
You were confident enough to ask me if I wanted to shoot.
So we're watching from our little spot. We can see these does, and like eventually, 6 of them came into view, and they're all bedded on this nice, beautiful little ridge. The sun is now beaming in. It's like real.
They're just
freaking
chilling,
nice.
like
So
hanging out.
I said to these guys, I was like, just get comfortable. We're going to just wait, and eventually a buck is going to come in. Like, I'm real confident a buck's going to turn up here soon. And it was like, I don't know how many hours, but it was 4 p.m.
3. It was three
Three?
and a half hours because I was sitting there perched up on the other side. So where these guys were was like a little ridge with I'm going to talk about this because I went on a little ridge with a bench, good like shooting rest and everything like that. For me to be able to get a shot of Joe potentially shooting an animal and all that sort of stuff, I had to be across one. So there was this tiny little spined finger with snow all over it and shit. And it was like a little tiny rock bench that I could rest my ass on. But I had to have my heel dug into the rock in front of me to be able to sit still. So I literally was sitting there for like 3.5 hours.
And you had wind blowing directly in your face.
Yeah.
We were kind of like protected from the wind. So I'm like over there with the spotter. I got my snacks. I got my puffies on. I'm all warm.
I'm sitting there like
watching the chamois.
eating biltong in the sun.
I was eating snow. I didn't bring water over there with me. My pack was up with the boys.
gosh.
I was like breaking snow off, like scraping snow off the rocks, drinking it.
And so what we mean here is like,
And this is why he was dead later.
we
Literally.
we couldn't move. Like where we were in plain view of all these chamois, and chamois, like I mentioned before, have like crazy eyesight. So
We're like 300 yards or something?
yeah, if we wanted to crawl back to our bags, which were literally 10 yards above us, they weren't far, but if one of us tried to crawl back, there's a high chance that these does would spot us, and then basically it's done. You know, you might as well turn around and go find something else. So we all sat tight and just basically weathered it out. And we're sitting there comfortable. You've got nothing, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it was about 4 o'clock, and then
the time went fast though. I was just sitting there enjoying watching those chamois. They were bedding, they were messing around with each other. I was getting some digiscope footage.
Yeah.
I had the camera too, which is cool. Just because the way it worked out, like I was running the long lens camera, so like that was fun.
Yeah. So I had the rifle there. I had it I had it originally set up on the Springbok, like a long Spartan bipod, but I ended up taking it off that in the end, and I put the standard bipod on. But anyway, so I've got the rifle there. You've got the camera. You've got the camera that's capturing us, don't you? And then you said you were shocked about the time, like you just said, but you asked me, I think, what do you think the time is? And when you said it was like 3:57 or whatever.
You said, I was like, what time do you think it is? And you're like, 1?
Yeah.
And I was like, it's 4, dude.
Yeah, 4 o'clock. Like time just went.
Yeah.
And not long after that, I remember Corner caught movement, and down below us, the chamois over this side, down below us on this side, I could see a black shape, and it was another chamois. I picked it out straight away, and I said, buck right down there. I just knew it was a buck. Without getting the optics on it, I just somehow just knew it was a buck. So you guys got all on it. We got the binders up, and yeah, definitely a buck. And he was like cruising over.
How do you
to these
identify a buck from a doe? We might as well
Yeah,
tell
so
people.
chamois, if you don't know what a chamois is, Google it. CHAMOIS. Google it. Have a look at them. The females and the males are very, very similar. It's actually quite difficult to tell them apart. But for me, if I'm gonna try and figure out what they are, the first thing I look at is the dorsal. On the backs, they've got buck will have what's called a dorsal ridge, and does have it as well, but a buck's more pronounced. So it's like a long strip of hair that runs down the center of the back. And the bucks will often, this time of year, walk around with that dorsal ridge erect. So it's like this big sail, basically, and it waves in the wind as they walk. For me, that's the first thing I look for, that dorsal ridge. Secondly, body mass. They're a lot more stockier, bigger bodies. But when you're looking at individual animals, you can't gauge them to see which one, that one's smaller and that one's bigger. You can't really go by that. So, but when you see a buck in with does, it's super obvious. Then another big one, probably the second most important, I would say, would be you look at the horns. A buck's horns are going to be more girthier. Plus, as the horn goes up, because they've got like candy cane shaped horns, Catherine, my wife, calls them candy cane animals, you know. So the horn comes up, straight up, and then it hooks around, and then it points down. So a buck's horn will go up and point basically straight back down. A doe, a female, will go up and point backwards most of the time. We have had does that do point down, but as a general rule, a doe's horn will come up and then back. A buck's horn will come up and then down like a solid hook, like a candy cane.
Did you just piss with your mic on?
I took it off.
I was going to say.
So yeah, those are. I mean,
turn it around though, bro, so it's on the outside, so it's not ruffling against your shirt. Sorry.
You're good.
So I guess those are like identification. Like it does take a lot of practice, and the best thing to do is to get a spotting scope on it as quick as possible, so you can really like punch in.
Yeah.
On their belly, on the underside, a buck will have a pistil, which is a long strand of hair, basically, where the penis is, and that's obvious if you've got good optics or you're close enough to see that.
Yeah.
You can see their nutsack if they're walking away from you. But for me, to cap it all off, the first thing I look for is that dorsal ridge. If it's got really long hair and it's waving in the wind as it's walking, I'm instantly interested in that animal. And then from there, I'll start ticking off a few other things.
And the rut to the body language, just how he was approaching those does, that one doe was a pretty big old one.
Yeah.
But we saw that's another thing, when you see him pee, obviously the males are going to go forward, females are going to go backwards. So I saw her
squat down. Yeah.
That's how I knew she was. You obviously knew, but that's how I knew she was a doe when I saw her. But yeah, man,
this buck's like trotting in.
He was
He's like
a good
all
one.
staunch like this. And I'm getting the rifle on it. You're filming. Hunter's got the long lens on him, and he sort of goes around above them, eh? Like he doesn't just go straight to them. He skirts around above them, and he's standing up on this tussocky piece, and there's this big rock cliff there. And pretty much I line up on him, squeeze it off, hits him, and then he basically falls over the edge. And that's what we see of him. Like we knew he was down there somewhere. We didn't know if it was a sheer vertical cliff on the other side. We didn't know how bad of a drop it was, but he was...
It was sheer vertical, just luckily it wasn't that tall.
But he was no longer in sight, and we sort of thought, like, man, did we just freaking... Did we just do that?
Yeah.
Man? Are we on the board, boys?
I gotta give you a high five right now. I was so stoked, dude, because the plan worked out perfectly. It was our first nice day of hunting. I looked at my clock and it was 4. Like I was kind of like, oh dang, man, like we kind of like this day's gone, like, you know. And I had that second of like, should we go check the other spot, see if there's a stag there? And then like, it wasn't long that after that the buck came out, and just after what we had gone through and deciding to stick it out, and then like having success, and for me it was cool to not be first up to bat, and to like watch how you did it, how you approached it, to actually get to be a part of capturing it, like from filming it with the longer lens. Like it was really cool, and I was stoked for you because like it was an animal of a caliber that like, you were proud of, you know, and it was like a good solid buck.
And the footage, man, like he's like standing on the top of a rock shelf, eh? Like it's we should actually look at it. It's sick footage, man.
Yeah.
Hey, it all like lit up in the sun, and
so I was like super happy it worked out that way, like that you got that buck. It just felt right, and like it felt like such a great win after all that we had kind of come through.
Yeah. We start making our way down there, and we get like into the zone where he was, and we start like putting our packs down and get the rifle out just in case. And we found blood, and then remember
everywhere.
like everywhere. And we crested a little bit, remember, and I was like, shammy. And we looked down, and all the does were still right there. They were still sitting right there, right? And you got some footage of them running up? Yeah. So they were like, they obviously saw us and they'd gone out of there, but it was pretty cool that they were like still right there.
Yeah. And that's one thing we had mentioned in the hunt too, is like, cause you shoot suppressed.
Yep.
And so that's something too, that like it was less of an impact in the area.
True.
With the suppressed rifle.
And then,
but anyway, it was awesome, dude.
We sort of like track it down, we track the blood, and then we end up spotting the buck off. He'd gone into like vertical, straight up and down, and he was like stuck in the scrub and stuff like that. So you stayed back and filmed. Me and you went down there, eh? And the plan was to try and like pull him back up on top of this thing, because there's no way we could deal with him where he was. It's like sheer vertical, and he's like stuck in all the scrub. And we managed to like bit by bit get him up.
Okay, I gotta say, so literally like I would hold the thing by the horns. He would crawl on all fours up this like vertical thing of like scrub.
Yeah.
And then I would hand you the horn
or a leg.
and then I would crawl up past you. You would hand me a horn. Like we did that like probably 6-8 times.
Yeah.
Like literally crawling past each other on all fours and handing the thing up.
Yeah.
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 It was a mission.
It was wild. It was wild.
It was a mission.
And eventually we got him to a pretty sweet little spot, eh? And then
Yeah.
you like had everything set up nicely, and then me and you finished it off, recapped it, did a little talk. We got to admire him. As far as the buck goes, he's definitely one of the bigger bucks I've ever hunted, ever been successful on, like a big, solid, old, mature buck. Yeah, just freaking, to like Hunter said, to weather the storm like that and then to be blessed with a good, successful day like that was freaking cool, man.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So, yeah, we sort of like took in the moment as the sun was setting. We had like it was a pretty cool rest of the day, wasn't it? So we sort of took in the moment, chilled a bit, and then that walk back that night was pretty hectic. Eh?
Yeah,
pretty hectic.
It was full on, man. Because like the boys would have said while I was in the bathroom, like the amount of ice and shit that was everywhere. So it went from like a 9 out of 10 dangerous to like a 10 out of 10 or 11 out of 10 dangerous. Like they're just ice on rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
So we did that in the night. Basically, didn't leave until after dark.
And your energy levels were low because you couldn't eat
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
all of those hours.
He was not able to eat or drink and was getting blasted by wind and wind and sun.
Yeah.
And and so you were wiped, dude.
I was absolutely wrecked. And like the other day,
You
was
could
like,
tell like your spirit was gone.
yeah, I was just like, I just need to get through this. I was just looking at my feet, just gritting my teeth, just like, I'm gonna make it back to camp.
Imagine the worst walkout that you've ever done and probably times it by some crazy number.
It was nasty, man. It was to get up from where you retrieve animals is like a whole thing in itself, and then from that point is when you start your walk back to camp.
Yeah.
It was nasty.
Navigating ice and treacherous terrain, and
it
that's when we encountered going through the scree. Hunter was saying about I went through, touched some rocks, and like 30 yards above me was just like threatening to go, but.
And I just got to reiterate too, like covering terrain in this, like covering country in this type of terrain, literally I feel like it almost doubles what I'm used to. Like, so back home, maybe walking like 5K is like 2.5K here. You know what I mean? Like 2.5 miles or K here feels like 5 back home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
You're also
it's
at
just
altitude
harder
too,
to
right?
walk here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And you're at altitude as well, like makes it hard. And then like the mental tiredness you get from like every single step, you have to watch where you walk. You can't just walk.
Yes, that's
exactly
exactly.
you take, or no step I took throughout the whole trip. I wasn't watching where I was stepping.
Yes. You
Don't
can't just like zone out and like go into autopilot and like hike. You have to intentionally place every step.
Yeah.
Unless you're
Don't
this guy.
don't step there. Don't
You
step
might
there,
die.
You'll die.
Literally.
And he just moves through it like
Yeah. And I like circling back to me being wrecked, like I'm, without pissing in my own pocket, I'm pretty fit. I train a lot, all that sort of stuff. So like most of the days where we had time to sit down and have lunch and I could stay hydrated and all that sort of stuff, I was chirpy, like bouncing around up hills, hanging shit on each other and like having a fat time.
if you weren't fit, you couldn't do this.
No way in the world.
At all.
Yeah, that particular night, you just struggled a little bit because of leading up to that point. Like you did it tough while me and him were friggin' right.
I had a night
Luxury.
where I was really out of it too.
Yeah. We had one piece of, we took the chamois meat back. I had
Big
one
cook
piece
up.
of,
Big
cook up. I had one piece of backstrap and went to bed. Well, I didn't go to bed. I went backed up the footage and then went to bed.
And me and you were out there. That was kind of cool, man. Like we got back to camp and some of the meat, like we
Ate
prepped
some
it up,
chamois
sliced it up,
backstrap.
cooked it up. We chilling there, like there's no real gnarly winds, and we were just relaxing, man.
Yeah.
We weren't even under a fly or anything. We were out in the open, crazy Milky Way galaxy like star above us. Like it was wild.
It was beautiful.
Astro night.
What night?
I saw shooting stars.
I checked that time lapse today.
Oh, was it good?
It was really good.
I bet.
Yeah.
So that'll be in the films.
Yeah, it
so
was sick.
We're sitting out there cooking up this meat, eating it.
Wait, it was that same night you were dead tired, did the nighttime lapse?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
It might have been the next night, maybe.
It was.
You were too tired to do it that night.
It was one of the earlier nights, maybe, because like I did it in the
It was like the
and that
second
was the night that
night.
you were wrecked.
It was the second night.
Actually, we should touch on the time lapse on the night time lapse.
Oh no, we have to. Bro. We have to.
This was like night, I don't know, 2 or something. And like we were sitting down and like I'm doing bits and pieces like so. Not saying my job's any harder than anybody else's here, but like
Your job is pretty freaking hard.
yeah.
Right?
So I have to do everything that these guys are doing in regards to like fill your bladder, get your food ready, cook your dinner, make
Survive.
all that sort of stuff. Yeah, literally all of that sort of shit, and carry all that plus carry camera gear, dump the footage, charge the batteries, keep it clean, keep it dry, all that sort of stuff. So there's that workload on
Very
top of
hard job.
and then shoot while I'm filling my bladders and cleaning, I'm still shooting bits and pieces for these guys and that sort of stuff. So like I'm doing all that. Hunter's riding my ass politely to do a time lapse because Hunter likes time lapses in his episodes, which is sick. So I was like, okay, sweet, no worries. I'll do this and that, and then I'll go and set the camera up. So walked out, I grabbed my photo camera. And
Riding your ass politely.
Literally, like I wasn't taking offense to it, is what a point I was making. Like you wanted one, and like I had the ability to do one, so go and do it. That's my job. So I grabbed the camera, and there's like this big rock sort of downhill in the V of the valley. So I went and set up the camera, set up my time lapse, put it on, walked back. I said, all right, nobody shine their light down the valley because it's going to fuck up the time lapse, right? Nobody shine their light down the valley. And this was a day where Hunter was fucked.
This is the night where I was like super out of it.
you
just
were
like,
wrecked.
Yeah, I was just making it back to camp.
So I get back. I said, nobody shine their light down there. The time lapse is running. It'll be about like 15, 20 minutes or something like that. So we're doing all that, yada yada, cooking dinner.
Hunter goes out to get water or something.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he comes, and then like John
Out of the mud hole.
there, he comes in the mud hole and he's like, "Bro, is that eyes?" Turns his head torch on straight at my camera.
Hey, there's eyes down there. I can see eyes down there.
I thought it was a chamois looking at me or something.
And we're like, bro, that's the time lapse he just told you not to shine at.
Yeah. So I was like, it was ironic because like he was riding my ass to do a time lapse, and then he fucked up the time lapse I was doing for him. It didn't actually. There's one little couple of frames there where you could just see like a little bit brighter.
Yeah,
than
you
the
can
rest.
just delete that for
So it's not that bad, but like it was just pretty funny.
The moment it was so.
I'll leave it in there just so if people listen,
funny.
they can see it.
It was
remember.
so funny, man. It was so
Yeah, I was
freaking funny.
super out of it right there.
Yeah. There's, like, honestly, man, there's so many of those crazy little things that happen throughout the time that we're probably not even touching on. But
Literally.
man, it was a good time.
The other one with the cooking with the backstrap too, we'll tell that towards the end. Where I was trying to just wait till I'm ready to lay it.
No, you touch on that. Okay, so let's get back to the story.
Yeah.
So we pretty much, after we cooked up the meat, we had a great feed. You've got a tradition of you make a
taco.
Tell them.
It's not a big deal, but yeah, every trip, on my first trip I started on Kodiak, we cook up some backstrap at camp, and I always have tortillas with me. So that time I did cheese as well. You can do cheese, or you can just do meat, but just backstrap, salt and pepper, cook it in some butter or some oil if you have it.
With fresh meat from the animal you've just
Fresh
harvested.
meat from the animal you just harvested, and then wrap it in a tortilla, and you can throw the tortilla just on the pan too and warm it up if you want.
Yeah, that's like the pro level.
Yeah, I mean, it's basic, but just the combination of like the carbs and bread and like the meat, and it's
Especially when
very,
you're eating freeze-dried shit every day.
Yes, it's just like it's
Real
good.
food.
It's good.
So we were doing
Basic
that.
but good.
We were doing that, and that sort of capped off the night, man. Like we're having a good feed, a warm feed,
Yep.
some solid meat, and
Really tender, that chamois backstrap.
yeah.
It's actually delicious. Like it tastes like it's not like anything really. Like it's more similar to probably like goat or something. I found.
There's no real tang to it though, eh?
Nah,
Yeah.
it hasn't got that goaty tang.
No,
Like
it's
you said, a
delicate
lot of people
and
don't like it, but I
Yeah.
think it was delicious.
I mean, I've heard so many dudes saying that they don't like it, but
Chamois?
yeah, man. But
Really?
I've always haven't found anything wrong with it. Like I've never once been like, oh, I'm not eating that. So I don't know. Maybe
I've eaten
Don't
a
know.
lot of animals and even some weird ones.
Yeah.
And as long as you like take care of meat properly in the field and cook it right,
Yeah.
it's pretty much good no matter what it is.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit of a mic Nazi,
Yeah, he's just
especially after the audio.
he's
from my iPad.
literally just moved it.
I think it's better now, right?
Yeah, it's way better.
It's
Just more pointing
my
out.
one's like angling down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
Yeah.
anyway, it was really good, and I mean, I think chamois is great.
yeah, it's good. So me and Hunter are sleeping in the same tent. We're like buddies.
Oh my gosh, dude, yeah.
So anyway,
And he has this like luxury like mattress air pad that's like mine's like probably this wide. Your thing
Dude,
takes up
yours-
like the whole
That's-
tent, dude.
oh yeah, I'm running the Thermarest Neo Loft Google it.
No, but that thing does. It packs up really small.
Yeah.
I will say that's a cool pad.
It's-
I'm kind of giving you crap, but that's a really cool pad.
Yeah.
And Joe has the worst smelling socks in
Little
existence.
little plug just quickly for that mat. I've only started
you.
using it this year. Thermarest Neo Loft. Just give it a quick Google. I won't talk about it, but just give it a quick Google. Super thick, packs down to like super small. It packs down to roughly the same size as yours, man.
Literally.
And it'll be twice as thick, if
Yeah.
not more. So super cool. But yeah, he was giving me crap about it the whole time, but I was loving it.
He had me jammed into the side where the wind was hitting, and I had like this much wrapped.
Yeah.
For reference on, and I'm backing that as well, because like I have one that's a similar price, or would be around the similar price, from a different brand that is quite narrow and stuff, and it packs down probably a third bigger or a fourth bigger than the Thermarest that's thicker, wider, and longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
But anyway, we had to share that thing, and it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Apart from the socks.
Apart from my socks. I warned Hunter because
Yes, his socks are real bad.
I get sweaty feet, so my feet get a bit stinky after time. But I'm not the freaking only one. These boys reckon that I was the
He
smelly
takes
one.
offense to it. He's taken offense to it all week.
They've been ripping
Dude,
into
I
me.
don't want to go too far into it, but yeah, your socks are next level.
Did you smell your socks?
No, but like I didn't have
Did
to
you-
smell your socks. The smell came to me.
So anyway, yeah, these are the sort of joys you get when you're sharing a tent with your so-called buddy.
Oh no,
right?
I love you, dude.
We woke up the next morning.
And
Was
it
the
wasn't
next-
that bad. In all honesty, it wasn't that bad in that tent. It wasn't.
is
too
No,
bad.
it was actually the tent was fine.
Once
Like,
you get used to the fact of like, hey, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
Yeah.
it was sweet. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
The next day our last hunting day. Did we have
Nah,
one
next
more?
day was day
Oh,
7.
No, that was a hard day. We covered a lot of country
We
that
did.
day. We saw no stags except for spikers.
Chamois was day 6.
Yep. We saw the next day we had a full, really good weather day.
Yeah.
Incredible
And
weather
we
day.
did a 5 mile loop pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Huge mission. We went
Yeah.
the other
Which
direction.
doesn't
and-
sound crazy, but in that I'm telling you, in that country,
Yeah.
5 miles is 10
that
miles.
we missed it. So like there's a day missing somewhere
I
because
don't think so, dude.
Okay.
no, that was the day. That was the day before the last day. So
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
chamois,
that's what we're up to,
long
yeah.
hunt,
Chamois was day
and
6.
then my
No, there's another day in there. I swear to God.
Okay, but we might have touched on it before. Like you guys are like, just get on with the story. Probably.
Sorry, yeah, I'll be
But
quiet.
we may have missed the helicopter heli hunting scene when the helicopter came in. That
That's
might
a
have
bit
been
we
the day
missed.
that you're talking
That-
about. We touched
yeah.
on that briefly. I think you might
when
have.
you were in the bathroom. man.
Sorry, my apologies.
So
okay.
we had another really good day, and we decided to go the other direction to where the chamois was, where Stag Valley was. We were going to go the other direction, and
We figured after this point it would have calmed down from the helicopter
Yep.
and kind of reset with the weather.
Yep. So we did. We walked as far as we could possibly go along the ridge. We covered everything, and we saw a lot of deer, man. We saw a ton of deer. Eh?
We did.
We saw hinds. We
Yeah.
saw spikers, but we did not see
Smelled
mature
stag.
stag.
Literally could smell stags too. And like
They just weren't popping out.
we walked down we walked, just to contextualize that a bit, like spotted in the back of this little V of a gully on a bench in the shade, like of all places, which was super weird because it was cold arvo. And there was like some nice sun hitting some banks and stuff, but they were in there feeding in this little V. It was like what 5, 6 deer,
Yeah.
6 down there.
like a
yeah.
spiker or 2 spikers and a few hinds. Then we kept walking around, and then this other little bench, Joe went and checked the ridge. Hunter walked around a bit further, and I was like, I'm going to drop down here and just peek over this little ledge. And it just was the start of the monkey scrub. So I dropped down into it, and I wasn't going to go any further because it was starting to get nasty. And I was just getting this updraft of just stinking stag.
Oh, nice.
Heaps. And I was just sitting there for ages, and I was like, surely, like, I'm going to see. I didn't have binos either because I only had cameras, but
The stags had been there
yeah,
recently,
there was,
but they weren't there at the moment.
yeah.
It was a
good area for a stag.
good area. It was a good area for a stag, but it's not that day, boys. Not that day. So yeah, it was a cool day though, man. The footage would be kind of cool, I reckon, on that. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
long story short, massive mission, new country, saw deer, but not the stag we're looking for. So went back to camp. I think you did another Astro that night too. Remember?
Yeah, I did.
Another beautiful day,
Astro?
super clear Astro time lapse.
Oh, okay.
Super clear, most stars you've ever seen in your life above you. Like
Wait,
just
you did 2
real nice.
Astro time
Pretty
lapses?
sure there's like 5 time lapses on there.
Nice, dude.
4
Yeah.
or 5.
That's my
I
boy.
got you, my guy.
Yeah, sunrise too.
Oh,
That was good.
sunrise one.
Yeah. And then yeah, so then that brings us kind of like to where this is our last this night here, we're thinking like tomorrow's basically our last day. It's our last chance. We've been sort of handicapped by the weather. Tomorrow we've got a full day. The following morning we're due to be picked up because the next freaking storm's rolling in. So that was kind of why we've got tomorrow. We knew we had a full day of it tomorrow, and we basically, you mentioned it today, we had an ace in the hole that we hadn't been into since the first day, which was Stag Valley. And we get up real early that morning. You get up real super early, and me and Wade still made it up there before daybreak kind of thing. But we're up on our vantage point, cooking coffees and stuff, glassing this general faces. And then we got on the trail early. Well, we got on the walk early. I shouldn't say trail. There's no trails. On the way to Stag Valley, and I was super confident.
I pretty much got us going early that day.
Yeah, you did.
I was ready to get the full.
Yep.
And I even said to you guys, we're leaving by 8:30.
Yep.
From the glassing point.
Yep.
I got up super early, got my stuff squared away because I was super tired from the mission the day before, so I didn't pack any of my food. So I got up like extra early that day. I actually set my alarm that day. I knew it was like our last shot. So I got up early, ready to go, and I got up on the glassing knob. And then you were up there like only like a couple minutes after me, maybe 15 minutes after me.
That was pretty quick too, man. Because I was thinking the same. Like, this is the last chance to.
I actually didn't expect you to get up there that quick.
Oh, well,
I thought I'd be up there like 30 minutes or an hour at least.
Nah, there's things to be done.
We talked, and we were like, we ate breakfast and had coffee, and we're like, let's get out of here by 8:39. Yep. I said, let's go closer to 8:30, and we went.
Yep.
Because I knew it was basically going to be like I even said, let's do our morning commute. Because I knew it was going to be a commute over there to Stag Valley, which wasn't terrible, but it's a walk.
I think it's just because we've done it like
exactly.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things where like we knew the exact line to take to get there and everything too, because we'd done it twice.
Yep. And it was like, let's get over there, then let's have a full day to hunt over there, and I was feeling good. I mean, we did a little hunter's prayer that morning.
Yep. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
And we talked and got breakfast and got coffee and then headed out.
I wanted to get to the top of the ridge, remember?
Yeah.
So as we sidled up, we'd go keep to the left to the top of the mountain, get high, and then work down that ridge.
That big spine, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, I said to you guys, I was super confident we were going to see a stag.
Yeah, this guy has really good intuition, and so like he has good instincts. So he was feeling confident.
Yeah.
I was having faith. I thought we were going to get it done.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to carry on the story.
I was just dropping in there just to disrupt everything and ruin the flow. No, I just wanted to say, like, it sounds like a leisurely stroll over to Stag Valley. It's the other end of this range.
True.
It's literally like a 2-hour mission over there too. It's not an easy trek.
It's gnarly. It's gnarly.
Yeah, it's about a 2-hour walk over there.
Yeah, it is.
Luckily, the ice is all melted, so it's kind of like a little bit easier, but it's still not easy.
Yeah.
And we get up on a ridge, and basically, as soon as we crest on the ridge, the first time I pulled the binders up, I reckon it was within 5 seconds I spotted the stag.
Yeah, you did.
Hey. Yeah. So then I was like, I didn't say a word because this was Hunter's Day. I was like, dude, the ball's in your court, man.
Yeah.
You call the shots. You do what you want to do. This is your moment. So
Should I talk through that?
I need to tell you something, admit something.
Okay.
It's not that big a deal, but I need to tell you because I just literally remembered it just now. I made a snowball.
Yeah.
And I threw it as hard as I could at you.
Yeah.
And I clean missed you. nearly hit him in the foot, and neither of you seen it.
You were behind us?
Yeah.
Like while we were hiking?
Yeah, while we were walking to Stag.
Oh, that's funny. I wish you'd hit me.
Yeah. I threw it as hard as I could too, and I missed.
Oh.
It went beside you and then landed just beside Joe's foot, and neither of you seen it. It's pretty funny. So that's just mine.
You need to get better at aiming.
Yeah,
bro.
I know.
So we get up there, then we see the stag, and what happened?
So we get up there. I was feeling confident. I think we dropped packs because we pretty much knew like there's a good chance we're going to see something in here.
Yeah, from that spot. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we dropped packs, and I was looking across the drainage into the next face where we had glassed those deer the other day. And so I wasn't really glassing the bottom, what's
good
it called?
Area for a stag.
The shelf. Yeah, the good area for a stag right below us. And so, you spotted him right away, and then I got eyes on him. And, I mean, like I said, this is your environment. You're an expert here, so you're, always looking for the big, old, crusty guys. And I'm not super used to looking at stag, so they all look, even the smaller ones look bigger to me, than I'm used to looking at. I'm used to looking at more whitetail and mule deer and some elk as well. But I could look at him and see, okay, he's not a spiker, he's not a baby, he's a branch antlered stag. Let's at least get a closer look and see what he's like. And it would be really easy to do it. So, and then that's when we kind of, as we discussed, you let me take the lead, which was cool. I, of course, asked you a couple questions for your input a couple times, which you helped me out with, which I was glad for. But we basically stayed behind the crest of the ridge and just worked down, kind of downward towards him. He was at 900 when we saw him, right? Yards.
Yeah, it was I think 854 meters on my rangefinder.
I think he was 900 yards. I don't know if that's right, but
bedded as well.
Yeah, he was bedded. And so we went down to get a closer look, and then you thought...
I turned around to say to Wade, I said, because you were ahead and me and Wade were following, Wade was filming. I turned around to say to you, I was like, we're going to see a stag on this side, I can guarantee it. As we're going down.
I made comment as well.
Too,
I made comment while we were walking. I was like, man, we should keep an eye down this little pocket because it looked so nice. Had all those little benches in there and all that sun hitting that face.
And I have to admit, at this point, I was pretty much like locked on to getting to that one.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really paying enough attention around me. Yeah. So then
I was, because I knew you were locked on, and I was like, we're going to see something down here. So hunters, you're focused on that guy. I'm just going to make sure we don't walk past something.
And it also at this point, like going back to what we were talking about earlier, I'm in pretty much like, if I have a good opportunity at animal, like if it's not, obviously I don't want to shoot a baby or something. I want to shoot a good representative, mature animal, but I'm not going to be super picky on the last day as maybe we were on the first day.
Yeah. My saying through the week, like, and I've said this for years, but this is my saying is, big old stag.
Yeah,
look
we were
for a
joking
big
around.
old stag,
Yeah.
and then as the week progressed, it's like we're going to look for a big old small to medium stag.
Big old
representative stag.
Yeah.
Big
So
old
that's what it
average-
was. No,
Big
so
old average stag.
Yeah.
But all I was trying to say is that at this point, from what we had come through, the difficultness of this hunt, the fact that I've traveled this far, first the fact that it's my first red stag, like I would have been happy with not just, the giant, monster class animal. I would have been happy and proud to put on my wall the stag that we ended up seeing.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, so what happened, or like tell about seeing him.
Yeah, so as we're cresting these ridges and hunters like leading the way basically, and I'm following along.
How do you think I was doing?
You were doing real good, man.
Okay.
Yeah, real good. So obviously the ridge that we were going down, the stag was to the left, but down below us bedded. So we dropped over onto the opposite side and hunter led the way through, and we were just, if we had got right down the ridge, we were going to close the distance basically in half. So that was the plan. Go all the way down the backside.
We could have easily gotten that one.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
All the way down the backside and then creep back to the top, and he would have been full rifle range. That was the idea.
Yeah.
So Hunter's leading through, and as he's doing that, and as he's focused on where to go, Wade's focused on filming and capturing the whole thing. I am free to like keep an eye out and just basically assess what's around us as you're focused on the goal of the hunt. So as we're going along and cresting these little spurs and stuff, I saw a stag like get up. He was on a ridge, he stood up, and I told the guys, I was like, stop. We all sort of like crouched down, and there's a stag at like 300 and something meters just standing there, 2 hinds above him, and I told you guys, I was like, there's another stag on our side, in range, have a look at him.
Yeah, and that speaks to hunting with a buddy too.
Yeah.
You have a second pair of eyes out there, and but yeah, so you saw him. I think when I finally heard you say that and got down and stopped moving, I looked over to the hillside. I could see the hinds. I think he had kind of seen some movement or something.
Yeah.
And at that point, he dropped behind something, and we just sort of froze. And I didn't get a look at him. I think I saw maybe his backside or something. So I didn't have any idea like what he was. And I said to you, I was like, should I get my rifle out? Like, is this like a, and then I don't know if you knew at this point. You said later you think he was better than the one we were that we were originally going for.
Yeah.
So you said,
I'll tell you why afterwards, but you carry on.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just said, so you were like, yeah, I would get ready. And so then after I got my rifle out, then he popped back out.
On the same spur, but just lower. He walked out onto like a nice little bench, and he was like fully lit up in the sun, like the most perfect situation
footage.
ever.
Yeah.
Wade's like set up there.
What were you thinking, Wade?
I was like, yeah, I was similar. I was trying to work out, without passing an opinion, which one was a better option.
Yeah.
As in like higher percentage, and which one was a better animal.
Yeah.
I couldn't really come to a conclusion.
Because unfortunately, because we were over the backside of the ridge, we could no longer see the
compare.
original one. So you couldn't just be like, okay, that
Yeah.
guy, that guy. It was just like,
And I'm not that experienced at judging
Yeah.
them.
so for me, I fully just said to Hunter, I was like, dude, get behind your rifle and you make the call.
Yeah. Yeah. You just left it up to me. And I saw him standing there. He looked beautiful. He looked like a mature animal, like in terms of his body size. I could tell he wasn't like super old, obviously, but a mature animal. He seemed like representative, good size to what we had been seeing in the area.
No, he was
Probably the second biggest
second
one.
biggest stag we'd seen for the whole trip.
Probably the second biggest.
White tips, like mature
Yeah.
body,
Dark,
rutty up. Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, well, if he's gonna let me get into a super stable, like not rushed, nice, good shooting position, and still be standing like that,
Yeah. With all the cameras rolling and reading.
then we'll see what happens. So, and that's usually at that point in a hunt. That's when I've already kind of subconsciously made up my mind, but I still, I didn't want to do anything like rushed or stressed or pressured. So that's kind of the mindset I go into it with, is like, I'm going to just get into a super comfortable, stable position to make the best possible shot.
Yep.
And if he's still there, I'll take it. If not, okay. Because I knew this other stag was still there, bedded. So anyway, he was there. I got down and actually kind of found a spot about 10 yards below that looked like I could get prone, because I'd really like to get prone if I can. I tried at one point, if you guys remember, to get my pack under me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
I pull my pack over and I hear this like doo-doo. And I was like, what was that? And I look over at Wade and he like points down. My Nalgene full of my liter of water is just rolling down.
It didn't stop.
Like it went all the way to the bottom. And the stag is still standing there just staring at us at, what was it, 360?
Yeah. Something.
Yeah, it's like that, 350 something.
And-
yeah.
360 yards.
Below Hunter is like vertical cliff and
Just-
scree, like.
And that just goes to show, like, even if you dropped your pack or you fell, like, you could just go straight down.
Yeah.
So anyway, I crawled down about 10 yards, was able to get prone, got a rear rest. I don't even remember what I had. It might have been my bino pack. Yeah, it was my bino pack. I unclipped my bino pack, put it under, it's that Eberly stock bino pack, and got fully ready to go. And I remember saying to you guys, I was like, all right, I'm going to take him if he gives me I don't remember what I said.
I remember you saying, because I was just above
What are you
Hunter.
thinking at this point?
I was just above Hunter, and I had the long lens on the animal. You were behind Hunter. You were getting the medium shot, like there in the action. And I was waiting for your call. And then I remember you you eased around off the rough, and you goes, I'm going to take him. And so we're all like, here we go, boys. We're on.
Were you hoping I was going to take him?
Dude, I was hoping that you were going to make a decision that you were going to be stoked with, man.
Yeah, but
So,
secretly, like
yeah,
deep down, were you hoping I was going to?
we needed to make a move on one of these animals, and that one was right there.
Yeah.
And it was perfect, man. Like
Yeah.
the cameras were on him, everything, and you were confident in it. You'd ranged, you dialed everything.
Yeah, that's another thing I do need to mention that was cool. I was able to. I'm gonna drop a couple products here because it's good gear. It's stuff we use.
I think you guys probably enjoy hearing about the gear as well, so it's not like it's offensive.
So I'm shooting a Browning X-Bolt, is 7mm Rem mag.
Yep.
I put on a VX6 HD Gen 2 when I got here that I brought from the States with MDT hardware. And what was the other thing I was going to mention? Oh yeah, the Garmin thing. So Garmin sent me this new Tactics 8 watch and has applied ballistics that you can pair with the app on your phone, and I use the Garmin Zero chronograph when we were here to get some data, and we put it into my app. That helped me get a range card on this watch, so I could literally range my target and with all the data inputted into my watch, check a range card for how many I needed to dial my MOA. Super handy. So I ranged him, checked my MOA, dialed it, and
Yeah. and it was the perfect shot. The stag just hit the deck on the spot, tried to get back up, but basically sort of half rolled and half fell over the edge, out of sight, gone.
By the time I got my sight picture back on the area after the shot, I could see kind of like belly and a leg. So I knew, and I heard impact. Yeah. Like after I shot, I heard like a whook, you know.
You guys will see on the video, like it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was a
So
great shot.
all of a sudden we're just like, yeah, boys. Yeah, boys.
And he said it was a good
You're
headhunter.
almost out of frame. Just shuffle this way.
Oh, sorry.
You're right.
In this moment, I crept up to the top of the ridge, got the spotting scope on the original stag. It's still freaking bedded. It's still lying.
I got a muzzle brake too.
Yeah. It's a cannon, but yeah, it's still bedded. Like it's looking around, but it's still bedded. And then instantly I'm like, man, so this stag's this age. This stag that hunted just shot's a whole like level above that one. So, I mean, without knowing, that was the decision, man. That was the. If you could choose one or the other, you would have always chosen that one. So, all of a sudden, deer start popping out everywhere. And then like we're filming them and stuff like that. And we sort of like calm down a bit. We regroup on the top of the hill. And now we're on the very top, so we can see the original stag. And he gets up and starts walking towards us. And you, bro, you were like, Wade was like, do you reckon I can hind call at him from here and see what happens? And we were like, let's do it. So you started hind calling. He started like calling at the stag using a female deer's call.
I'll try and
he wanted to.
My hind call's not very good. Kind of like that.
He's doing this at this stage, like 380 yards probably until where this other original stag was. And this stag stops in his tracks, looks up at us, and just starts powering up towards us. And we're like, oh shit, he's coming in. So that was freaking cool, man.
That was cool to get content of. And then literally like after he started and he like ducked behind a knob, then like another stag rolled up out of that same valley. And then hind called like again, and he pricked up and started like sending over as well. It was
a crazy little situation
it was cool.
that we weren't expecting, but like
we got fully sidetracked from hunter's stag like for like an hour or two.
I was like, guys, I kind of want to go check out my stag now.
Yeah,
and they're like playing with
shut up,
other
man.
stags.
We're busy. We're calling hind calling.
I remember you saying that.
Joe's like, yeah, but I wouldn't mind finding another big stag.
I was like glassing the other side of Stag Valley, like, oh, we did.
Which
we
is
saw
fair enough.
We
Dude,
saw another decent stag across there as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden we're in the deer, we're in the zone.
It was fine, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get a chance at another one and the deer coming out, like I was cool to hang out and hunt some more. Like I wasn't like in a rush, but I was excited to go see him though.
Yeah, exactly. So when we did start going down there, we had to drop like probably 200 yards, I suppose, maybe a bit more. And then eventually we got to the same spur that he was on. So we get down, we start dropping down the spur, and it's like vertical, man.
Yeah.
So we're following you. We're following you going down.
Yeah.
You've got the right. Oh,
I did get the rifle out because just in case, I guess.
It's a good habit.
Good practice.
Yeah. Honestly, I was following your lead, you know. But I will say it was pretty steep getting down there without trekking poles and the rifle. So I was like,
I had like one trekking pole on the camera while you're trying to film.
Wade.
And then what happened?
Wade had one trekking pole, the camera. I had all of the other trekking poles, so your ones, my ones, and your extra one. And then we're just
same loadout as on the chamois.
We're climbing down the stuff, and then gets to this point where like me and you get down this bluffy piece, and it's kind of quite technical. And then I hear this like tumbling, and I look back. And my guy over here is like legs up in the air, like rolling down, and I'm just like, crap. And he gets stuck in this tree, and he's like holding the camera like this, and he gets stuck in the tree, and then he like pulls the camera up and films me, and I'm just like, you scared the shit out of me.
Oh, why'd you give me the shit?
It's like where he stopped in the scrub, below that was another like big drop, like 3 meter plus drop where he
it would have hurt after that.
Wouldn't have been good. So
we didn't even mention my other fall.
No, we didn't.
We'll talk about that now or later.
Well, yeah, Wade had another
similar fall.
And we were going through boulders, and I looked back and I saw literally Wade's legs go like over top of his head, and he tumbled down. Same thing, just holding the cameras. Wade carries a big FX6, which is what being filmed on right now. If you guys know, it's a big camera, like full professional camera. You've also got another stills camera on you, all the gear and shit, plus like huge heavy pack. Wade's tumbling down through the rocks. And then I hear it all, I see it all, and I said to Hunter, I was like, dude, that's serious. So
I thought we had jumped a huge stag. Like
Yeah.
I thought it sounded like a large animal like covering ground fast, like close by. And like he's like, dude, that was serious. And so we started running back to you,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and we were like kind of worried. And then
You get up and you're
probably
like,
cheers, mate.
yeah.
I'm like,
I just broke my finger, mate. It's all good.
literally.
Yeah, like you've damaged your hand and it's
Yeah.
giving you a bit of grief and
Yeah,
Yeah.
something's gone on there. Like I felt like, because I didn't brace myself because I was too busy trying to protect my gear. I landed like a big rock, jammed me in the leg and corked my leg. And then this was on day,
it was early on in the
like
trip.
this was
2 or 3.
yeah, it was like literally pre-storm, I think.
Yeah, it was pre-storm. wasn't it?
Potentially,
Yeah.
like yeah. So I've been
Until we
dealing with this
measure
shit.
time now. That was before the storm.
Yeah, literally, it's like pre and post
Those were
COVID.
the days before the storm.
Pre
Everything
was.
changed after the storm.
Yeah.
Pre and post
We
COVID
became
type
real
talk.
men.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So
that was one of those experiences in life, for real. That really was.
life-changing shit. Yeah, so what happened was I stood on a little piece of rock that was sitting on a big boulder, and it just went like a skate, just went, and I tumbled down,
And that can happen anytime out there.
literally.
Anytime. Don't
So I
send
landed-
To anybody.
And a big rock jammed in the side of my leg, corked it, and it's still like sort of sore, but not too bad, like just bruised muscle. Few scrapes and scratches and bits and pieces, but my hand jammed, like, it's hard to explain, but like jammed in a wedge of a rock, and I thought like, because I've like boxed and bits and pieces, I thought it was like a hand fracture or something. But and then I also thought, oh, maybe like on my knuckle sore, maybe I just jarred my finger, dislocated it, and went back in or some bullshit. And that was all fine. And then throughout the rest of the afternoon, I was like, oh, this is getting pretty bad. And I got a pretty high pain threshold. And then it got to the point where beside my knuckle, like instead of it being on the knuckle, down here, like I still can't really push it. It hurts like a lot. Here, there's like swollen and stuff. So I was like, oh, maybe I have broken my hand. I haven't checked it yet. But I probably will go to the doctors when I get home and see. But that was been a pain in the ass because I've been like carrying my trekking pole like I'm drinking a...
You took a beating on this trip,
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
basically.
So, yeah, a couple of gnarly falls for the old
Yeah.
Australian chum.
There's no worse for wear.
Yeah. So the second one though, like once we recovered from that and we carried on going, like
Yeah.
we got to the point where the stag was standing where you shot it, eh? And did we find blood? Oh, I found a few specks of
Yeah.
blood. Remember?
It was kind of like a little bit after where he originally was standing.
Yep.
But yeah, we did find quite a
Bit of blood, and we could start to smell them coming up out of the
And
valley.
then, yeah, we followed the blood trail for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he was right there.
Yep, tucked up in the scrub. So, yeah, we get down there and then you.
Yeah, I was
What happened?
stoked, man. Like, yeah, beautiful, dark, almost like black
Yeah.
antlers.
Super dark.
Like it's gonna be a super cool Euro.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, just a solid, like I said, not ancient but solid
Yep.
stag. I was happy with him, man.
He
Like,
was
I
hung,
stoked.
he was hung up in the scrub. He probably would have ended up further if
Oh,
his
yeah.
antlers didn't get caught in that bush.
Yeah, it could have been bad.
Yeah.
We managed to like drag him across onto rocks and set him up and where he was stable, so we could actually literally sit back behind and like film and just sort of like talk about it
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I mean, even more than like the size of his antlers was just like we were just stoked as a
Yep.
team that we had just like pulled off, like each getting an animal,
Yep.
you getting a super like mature old one,
Yep.
my first stag. Like it was just like such a sweet feeling of accomplishment for me.
Yep.
After everything we had been through together and just to know that we would end this like amazing epic trip on like such an awesome high note to like get my first stag.
Yep.
We got to enjoy a bunch of the meat together. Just really special, man. So thank
Stag
you
was
also.
a mature representative red stag, 10 points or 11? 10 or 11
10
points.
points, yeah.
Like white tips, super dark antlers. Like
Yeah.
first stag, man, you got to be freaking stoked. So,
I think it's worth making the point too, like on these types of things, it's not about comparing like what you think is the right animal. It's like you say it quite well, it's like what excites you.
yeah.
Like if that animal is what you are comfortable shooting, then that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck what the couch potatoes think?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because every bastard's got an opinion on what you should shoot and what you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's what it means
Yeah.
to you. Like that's the whole purpose of hunting in
Yeah.
general, right?
Yeah.
Like it's probably worth making a point about
Yeah.
that.
And it's just different, like me and Joe talked about. Like, yeah, that's probably not the animal he would decide to shoot, but he is.
The dude shot.
This is his area.
shot,
This is
yeah.
his expertise. This is what he does. Like that. I'm on a different, like a different level of my journey, and this is my first time here, first stag. That was the opportunity that I was looking for. It was beautiful. I feel like blessed to have had the opportunity. Very grateful for it, and I don't take it for granted. So it was like it was beautiful, perfect, felt right, felt good. So I just sent it, and perfect shot. Animal died ethically, quickly, and we enjoyed a ton of meat. We got a bunch of meat.
Big old mature 10-pointer to take home.
And
Broken
that was
bay
cool.
time.
And a freaking Euro that I will always look at the rest of my life and remember hanging out with a freaking Aussie and a Kiwi in the gnarliest place on the planet I've ever been. And like making it through this crazy thing and then like having success. Such a blessing, dude.
It was cool
Thank you,
hanging
boys.
out. Thank you, my
man.
friend.
Yeah.
It was cool hanging out like at night time too, like cooking the back straps and just chewing the fat, and we end up just
We
pulling
ate
my
a
camera
bunch
out.
too.
We ate
so much, man.
It was a pretty tough walk back too.
It was. That was an actual mission, especially for you carrying the head and the meat and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, like we and then the cook up, and then we grabbed my camera out and we're just passing it around, filming each other, like just super chill. And like what I thought was cool, and I think it's cool, like because I do a lot of this sort of stuff with the work that I do in my business, is like you start these trips off as acquaintances, and you only know like what the public knows, so to speak, about each other.
Yeah.
And then you go on these trips and you come out of them like after 10 days, it's like we've known each other for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's like literally like you build a friendship in such a compressed amount of time because you literally spend every waking second with that person. It's a cool way of doing it, and you know straight away whether you gel with people or not.
Yeah.
And sometimes even when you're not awake, like me and Joe this week.
Yeah, literally.
Exactly.
Literally.
So yeah, for
that was all
sure, man.
sorts
We
of
talked
fuckery
about
going on
that
that
several
trip.
times. It's like I've spent more time with you guys who I literally basically just met than I have with like any of my close friends like over like probably a year or two combined. You know what I mean? Like, so it's cool. It's a weird thing. I've talked about it before in the podcast. I've talked with you guys about it. Like meeting someone for the first time and then being dropped immediately into that like just you're in these crazy life experiences together. And then like you just kind of part ways. So it's kind of a strange thing, but it's also a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I've never have
lifelong
met you
friendships
guys
now,
before. Without hunting and the outdoors and production.
Yeah.
Wouldn't know you guys. So yeah, it's really cool, man. It's wild.
Cool. And I learned shit tons too, like, because you guys both produce this type of content. It's not the same as what I usually produce. Like I'm started the last few years delving into this realm of like reality TV, vlog style, rough, raw, honest stuff.
Yep.
Versus what I usually do is cinematic filmmaking, brand advertising, all of that sort of stuff. And like, I have the ability to shoot it, but the knowledge and when to apply what, because like, I guess a huge lesson for me is like, a lot of the time, like I'd love to go like, stop, do it again. Let's get some like really nice cinematic pans and all that sort of stuff. But the majority of the time you don't have time for that. And the majority of the time you are just rolling for long periods of time and just capturing all those raw audio moments and all that authenticity and those slips and falls and those funny things and all that shit. Whereas you would leave all of that out in a cinematic shoot. So trying to find the balance between that, I guess, is like one of my biggest learning curves. And like from doing this with you guys having the knowledge of that has like, my progression was this and now it's this. Like I've learned so much, like 6 months worth of hard lessons in 10 days.
Yeah.
Essentially. And like, which segues into like, I'm hogging the mic, but segues into another point I wanted to make about things like this is like, you could say, oh, I would have quit and went to the hut and all that sort of stuff during the storm and everything. But when the lows are so low, the highs are much higher. Like I think it like that contrast in good and bad makes for an epic story, whether you were filming this or not. Like this would have been a cool story regardless of the animals as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is like hugely valuable. I had an absolutely incredible time. Like I wish I could wind back the clock, and I pretty much wouldn't change a thing, to be honest.
100%.
I
Moral of the
wouldn't
story,
either.
like one of the toughest hunts ever through so many different aspects, but we all come out of it super successful.
Yeah.
And like you guys watching, man, there's some content that if it's, you probably haven't seen it yet because it's probably not out, but when it comes out, it's going to tell some pretty cool stories. So
It's weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing now. There were just like any great adventure. There's times in the middle where it's not fun and it actually legit sucks, and you're like scared. And like at that point, you're like, I wouldn't want to be here. You know what I mean? But like looking back, I wouldn't change it. I would. In the moment, I would not have picked to be in that storm. Right now, I would probably I wouldn't change it. But crazy time.
Do hard things, people. Do hard things.
yeah.
Is
But-
my big message.
Don't die. Also,
Yeah, don't die.
Just
Don't
don't
step
step
on that.
here.
Don't step
You'll
on that, you'll
die.
die. Literally.
We
Hey, be real careful here, guys. You die.
we flew out the next day, and we've pretty much like me and Hunter, we had an idea, which was actually Caroline's idea. Caroline from Halley Rural. She said, "Why don't you guys go to the thermal resort when you've done your hunt as like a treat?" Thermal resort in Methven, it's like mountain views. It's these hot pools, and there's a swim up bar. You can get meals, drinks, whatever.
It's
Like
amazing.
super nice.
We had it
Say
planned
the
all
name.
week.
Say the name of it.
We-
What name is it? What's it called?
I can't remember what it's called, man. To be honest.
No, either.
But it's in. It's,
Sorry.
If you type in thermal resort in Methven, you'll find it.
It's
Like it's
epic.
pretty sick. So
It's
me
very
and,
nice.
Me and Hunter, we were going to do this, but we didn't tell Wade. And throughout the whole trip, we were like,
So dog.
we were like, man,
I come
just-
close.
We got a surprise for you, dude.
you just wait to see what we've got planned after this. You're going to freaking love it. And the whole week he was like, just tell me what it is, and we wouldn't.
I
tell
almost
him,
guessed it because I said sauna.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you were close.
Yeah.
So anyway, we fly out of the mountains. Scott pulls us out, which is freaking amazing. Actually, cheekily, me and Scott, and like we're planning my next hunt, which is in 2 days' time. And so all of us, as we're flying out, we're like checking all these new zones out, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
camp here, camp there. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go on my next trip. But anyway, that's another
I was
story.
getting nauseous because we were like dive bombing into these canyons looking for stuff.
Yeah, so anyway, on the way back, trying to figure out where I'm going to go on my next trip. But we get back, we race to the thermal pools, and we only just make it in time to get the last
Last call.
slot. So
Just on time.
we book in there, the three of us, we jump through the showers, and we jump into this thermal pool.
We went
and-
into this very nice like spa. I have literally bloody hunting pants on.
on
He
your,
has, like,
you had blood on your
fucking
ears.
I had blood on my ears.
yeah. Oh no, yeah. At one point I saw blood.
Yeah.
on your
Okay,
ears.
we were bloody and dirty and smelly.
Stinking, man. Stinking.
He was wearing camo,
Yeah.
like
We're straight out of the wilderness, man.
legit straight out of the wilderness.
We were expecting the lady behind the counter to say, "Hey, we've got certain
Yeah.
standards. You guys you can't go in there smelling like friggin' this." So anyway, but we go into this place and it is 10 out of 10 amazing.
Yeah,
We're
it's
chilled. We're ordering
It's so good.
a couple of quiet drinks. We have meals, pizzas and stuff brought out to us, and that was like
Incredible, man.
finished the trip off so nice.
That was good.
So back to civilization, man. And now that was yesterday. Now we're in Christchurch, and you boys are going home tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
I've
it's kind of bittersweet, man.
It's 10:15 and I got to get up at 3:30.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Which
yeah,
is-
we gotta.
That's all right. We can keep
No,
it.
but
It's really late.
dude, we're gonna miss each other, dude. We
Man.
formed strong, like good bonds, and we worked together great as a team.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to miss you traumatizing me about the audio.
Oh god, that was so scary.
so,
dude.
like-
that would trauma. I mean, anybody MXF didn't. I've never had MXF not play
Yeah.
an audio file. So like,
I don't know what happened.
That was
there.
legit. That
Maybe
wasn't
because it
me.
was track 2 or something. But yeah, that was.
We
it
had a
was-
scare with. We thought we lost like 3 days of audio, but we were fine.
This
But-
morning I was so I've backed up everything onto my hard drives, and the boys are grabbing all that, and we're collating all the footage and everything for everyone to use when they go. But I was on the phone FaceTiming my daughter this morning, and I get this message on WhatsApp from Hunter and from the next room by me, and he's like, "Dude, I'm scared. there's no audio playing on my kill shot or something, on my deer shot or something like that." And I like, while I was trying to talk to my daughter, I was like, "Oh no," which is like for the people that are in my game, you know the feeling. Like it's the most gut wrenching, awful.
Oh, I know that
in
feeling.
the-
I've been there too.
Yeah, it's awful, man. So like I get off the phone and my daughter, I walk out and Hunter's
This is
like,
completely irreplaceable stuff.
yeah, it's like literally if the audio failed on this project, these boys literally don't
It's
have
done.
deliverable content.
We're done.
It's finished. It's all over, and it's my fault essentially, and all the cameras and my fault, which essentially it ends up being my fault. But yeah, so like we're there and we're like fucking around with VLC and it's not working, and then we're trying to play it in other programs, it's not working, and I was thinking about downloading it somewhere or playing it on my computer, but then Hunter opened Premiere Pro, dropped the file in there, and it was there, and I was like, I still got PTSD from it.
Yeah, dude, I was very concerned.
It was very.
But
very
we
scary.
found it. So it was good.
I walked into the scene, and Wade's literally like leaning against the freezer with his hands like this, and Hunter's in the background shaking, literally
My hand was
shaking.
literally shaking. It
And
really
I was like, walked into the scene. I was like, what is going on?
yeah.
Literally, it feels like you lost a family member.
It's
Can't say
it's
it.
literally months of planning,
More than-
tons of money and gear, like the investment of me just getting here, leaving my family, like deliverables that I need to deliver, like it's like a big deal. So that's why we were freaking out. But anyway, we found it, thank God. Just like everything in this hunt hasn't been easy. There's been scary moments, but like in the end, God like always watched out for us, and it always like was just enough to like really push us.
Yeah, it's keep
because I mean, when you're as hard as this guy, it takes a strong push to like get your attention. So he got our attention a couple times. But
that's
like,
actually one point
we were
to make.
good though.
That's one point to make is like people that don't think this man is legit. He is a badass motherfucker, man. Like,
Joe is the real deal.
He's the hardcore dude.
Mountain man, like one of the best, toughest hunters I've ever had the pleasure of being with.
Yeah, and I learned heaps about hunting and stuff as well, man. Like, it was cool because like I've been in New Zealand a heap of times and stuff as well. So learning more about the sort of tactics and animal behavior and terrain and what to look for chamois and what to look for where they are and the difference between chamois and tahr in regards to geography and like simple things like that. I learned absolute tons. So yeah, it was a win-win-win-win on all fronts for me. It was so sick.
I got a question for you.
Go for it.
Honest feedback on how I did and what I could do better.
Honest feedback.
Well, don't tell him what you told me.
He's giving you shit. Honest feedback. Honestly, man.
Yeah.
Like,
because you. I know you're a thinker.
Yeah.
You're very smart. He's strategic.
Yeah.
You have a way that you do everything, and it's usually the right way. It is pretty much always the right way. So
okay, honest feedback.
Honest
so
feedback.
you've hunted a lot of places, all over the places. I had no idea what to expect with both these guys. I knew they were going to be capable. I wanted to go somewhere that was going to be wild and crazy and good. We went to the place, and you guys kept up and did everything that we needed to do. There was not one single point where I was like, man, we need to be down there, but I just don't think you guys can do it.
Yeah.
Like everything I wanted to do and how we needed to do to be successful with doing that thing, you guys could do it. Like
Sweet.
I had no problems, man. And yeah, it definitely wasn't like in the past with the guiding that I used to do, that's like, maybe I'm trying to find it hard to put into words, but there's like, with the guiding, would see all types of people that wanted to do hunts, and the majority of them couldn't do what needed to be done to be successful. But man, it was just like hunting. It was unrestricted with you guys.
Yeah, we
You guys
didn't hold you back.
Keep up.
No, like you as a hunter, everything was perfect. I didn't have to guide you.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm trying to say. You could have done it without me there, and all the places I wanted to go, you could do it. And then for you, like carrying all the camera gear, I used to do that for a job. You have done it for a job. I know what it's like. You crushed it, bro.
I appreciate
and
that.
it's like, it's not hard doing what Wade's doing. All the gear he's got to carry around, plus the survival gear, plus the hunting gear, all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, as a team, there was no issues.
Although, dude, I gotta say, carrying a spotter and my rifle, I think I had just as much weight.
Yeah, probably. But you're hunting McWilders, boy, from Virginia.
I'm just saying, dude. It's not like I wasn't carrying anything.
No, that's right.
I had a tripod and a huge spotter and a heavy rifle.
Yeah, no, we were,
and a bunch, like 17 puffers.
Yeah, we were all. Yeah, it wasn't easy. I found that. Yeah, man, you.
Well, that means a lot coming from you, dude.
There was I can't think of one thing that I was like, next time, don't do that or do this. You know, like there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I'd happily take you anywhere that I want to go and be comfortable that.
Well, that means a lot because I had complete confidence in you as like the leader of the crew. I never felt like I definitely felt challenged and stretched. The only time I felt really in danger was out of your control, was the weather.
Yeah.
But like, and that's not what I would expect. Like I'm not expecting you to be like the guy there to save me. Because like I said, we're just hunting together. We're friends. I didn't come into this with you as a guide. I came into it as I'm going to go hunting with Joe. Yeah. Yes, of course you know more about the terrain and everything than I do because this is what you do. But I wanted that to be the dynamic, and I think that it was good. So I was glad you were there. But yeah, man, crazy experience, dude. And
yeah.
It was good.
Wild place, wild people.
Yep.
Amazing time.
Yeah. And hopefully some gangster content to come from it.
It's going to be a great story to tell, man. I'm really looking forward to putting it together, looking through the footage, remembering. Like, I will never forget this trip.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. I think we'll be, like you said, I think we'll be boys for life.
Yeah,
we'll
be definitely mates forever, I think. And I don't think this will be the last time we see each other.
No, we're already planning stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's gonna be mad.
I think we should finish it off, but we should finish it off by each of us saying one thing, and then we should finish it off with each of us saying like where we can find each other. Blah blah blah. But so, what have you got? Who wants to go first? Have you got any like one solid point from the trip that you want to say?
Let me look back through my thing. Somebody else go first.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'll go first. The good isn't good without the bad being bad is probably the point I would make. And then having the mindset and mentality to focus on the outcome and push through. Like, do hard things, people, regardless of what situation you're in. And for me, I'm Wade Kelly. I am the founder, owner, director of Flow State Productions. We specialize in digital content, marketing solutions, website builds, all of that stuff for outdoor-based brands, businesses, and people. And we service worldwide, based in Australia, servicing worldwide. Find us on Instagram, YouTube. This podcast, on my page at least, will be the Flow State Collective on the Flow State Productions YouTube channel. Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz, you'll find your way around.
Yeah, and I'll just add that legit camera service, like cameraman. If you need someone to like film your hunt, document your hunt anywhere, like I would vouch for this dude 100%. I would
appreciate that.
You're a mate of mine, but I would fully book you for anything and not feel like,
Agreed.
Is he going to do a job? Is he going to be able to do it? Like, I've got no doubt that you can freaking do it, bro.
I appreciate that, man.
Cranks.
Agreed.
So if you're in America,
Ditto.
Canada, anywhere, and you're like, man, we've got this huge moose hunt coming up. We need it filmed. How can we film it? Is there anyone that can do it? This dude can do it. So seriously, man.
And survive through anything.
So find him on what he just said. Like, you know how to find him. But what about you, my guy?
Okay, it came to me, which is 3 things. Say yes, be humble, and live ready, okay?
Yeah.
So if you get an opportunity that comes your way, which in this small example happened to be Joe, who doesn't take a lot of guys hunting, say, hey, you want to come to New Zealand and go hunting with me? I found a way to make it happen. I said yes, and I'll figure out how to make it happen later, and just have faith it's going to work out. Be humble. I came here not saying I'm some, awesome hunter. I'm going to conquer New Zealand. I'm going to get this and that. I came here humble, ready to learn from Joe, ready to have an experience and like learn about the country and the animals and make some meaningful content, and live ready, meaning because the way I've set up my life, fitness wise, spirituality wise, everything, family, I'm able to live a balanced life and come into this mission. Though granted, I was not as mentally prepared or as gear prepared as I probably should have been, I was still able to physically keep up with you, who like lives in the mountains and you're like a legit mountain dude, and you, who obviously are the real deal too. So living, ready to be able to do those adventures to the fullest. So, you can get out there, and whether it has to be something serious, like protect yourself or your family, or get out of a dangerous situation, or something like this, an adventure that you're able to do it. Because this was tough, mentally, spiritually, and physically. That's why I love mountain hunting. It tests every part of you as a man, your body, your mind, and your spirit. And so having all those areas in check, that's it, man.
Yeah.
Because a place like this will test you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
100%, man. And how do people find you as well?
Oh, sorry, I got all deep and forgot where I was
Good.
at.
Good though. That's the whole point, man.
Yeah, so The Hunter's Quest on Instagram, YouTube, same thing. You can search my name, Hunter McWaters. So the TV show's on Sportsman Channel. That's in the U.S. On Monday nights, we open for the Western Hunter, starting in July. Monday nights at 8:30 p.m. And then YouTube, that's where you can really help me out. Just go to YouTube to subscribe at The Hunter's Quest, or you can search my name, Hunter McWaters. and Instagram.
Yeah, man. For
Oh,
me-
and the podcast too. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
If you're not listening on my podcast, you want to hear some other great content. I mainly focus on American, like Western hunting stuff, but I've done stuff in Spain with Pedro. So you're on the podcast. Jim Shockey's been on the podcast. Like we've talked about a bunch of guys that have been on there. So check that out.
And you were saying that this potentially could be your 200th episode.
That's true. Yeah.
Which is
I
kind
think
of a
I'm on-
milestone, man.
Let me see what I'm on right now.
It's kind of a milestone.
Go to.
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
198. So maybe it's
No,
got to
you
be.
can't.
I'll do something between.
This is gonna have to be the 200th episode. Just drop some.
I'll
dog
do a
shit.
solo cast about
Yeah.
gear or something, and then we'll drop this one.
I'd like to finish on like there's so many things I'd like to say, but I think one thing I want to say is when you're planning a big hunt like this, just remember to, although we set like a high benchmark goal that we were trying to aim for, it's like pretty important, super important to just enjoy
Yes.
every part of it, you know? Like I was just thinking just before, like when there was like a portion in the storm where it was kind of like, I remember seeing snow coming down and the snow was just like coming in crazy. Then all of a sudden the wind just like, something happened and the wind just like changed direction or something. But the snow was just coming in sideways and it went and floated there for a second. And I remember seeing
remember
I remember
dude.
seeing that and I was just like, that is crazy.
I remember that.
And it like ingrained in me and I was sort of like noticing little things like that. And it's, I don't know, I think just try and like, in a big scenario, just try and like enjoy every single part of it, leading through the whole encounter, start to finish, and just set the freaking memories in there, man. These are sort of stuff that, and when we're 80 years old, thinking back on this kind of stuff, man, it's like,
Yeah.
dude, there's a lot of things I don't want to be forgetting. So
That is, yeah, even when it got the really bad, you were pretty, like, both you guys were pretty chipper. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, I was impressed. So
Yeah.
if I was going to be going down in a sinking ship, I'd want you guys on there with me.
Yeah.
so
I'm not
Sit-
scared of dying, I don't think. Like, I'd be sad about the people I left behind and all that sort of stuff, but like, if I was to die doing some shit like this, I'd be like, that's the risk you take. I'm very realistic like
Yeah,
that.
it's true.
Don't want to die, but like, yeah.
So set goals, but enjoy the whole journey right through, man. I think that's it. Surround yourself with good people and just friggin' enjoy your life.
100%, man.
Yeah.
Well said.
So for me, J.U. Wilds, you can find, I got 2 main YouTube channels, 3 actually now, because this podcast channel, I've got my main hunting channel, I've got a fishing channel. So you can find me on YouTube, J.U. Wilds, just type that in, you should be able to find all of them. Over on Instagram, j.e.wilds, jwilds.com, Joe Edlington. You can find me many places. So
Yep. I should say thank you for inviting me, dude. Thanks for taking me hunting. Thanks for coming, dude. Thanks for being an awesome
Appreciate
help
it, man.
and accomplice and all that. So
yeah, man.
thank you guys.
Round
Great
2,
experience.
Round 2 coming up next year.
Yep.
So,
All right.
Should we wrap it up?
Good
Bye,
night,
everybody.
folks.
See you later.
we're out here doing it with J.E. Wilds and Hunter McWaters, you yellow bellied son of bitches.
Brought to you by your local hunting and fishing stores.
Get after it, boy. Big old stag. Small to medium.
Representative Stag.
Oh, fuck.